Zen Stories for Sleep Vertical Bar. The Silent Bell. A Monk's Lesson in Letting Go. Section 1. The Silent Bell. A Call to Inner Stillness. A young monk discovers a temple bell that never rings and begins a journey to understand its meaning. Hey guys, tonight we're going to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. If your mind's been racing all day, these tales might gently pull you back to the stillness waiting within. The stories aren't complicated. They're like quiet streams flowing over smooth stones, carrying you to places you didn't know you needed to visit. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while we're settling in, I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from and what time is it there? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk slowly up the stone path toward the ancient temple, the soles of your feet making soft, deliberate contact with each smooth rock. The air smells faintly of cedarwood and rain, even though the skies above are clear. To your left, an old wooden gate creaks as the wind sighs through it. At the center of the temple courtyard hangs a massive bronze bell. Its surface is mottled with green patina, and faint inscriptions circle its body like a coiled dragon. But there's something unusual about it. You stop. The bell doesn't ring. It never has. An old monk approaches from the veranda, his robe fluttering like a lazy bird wing in the breeze. He smiles, lines of age deepening around his eyes. "You're staring at our silent bell," he says. His voice is soft but carries a curious warmth. "Why doesn't it ring, you ask?" The monk chuckles. Perhaps it already has, or perhaps it doesn't need to. He gestures for you to sit with him on the low wooden bench beneath a gnarled pine. "Tell me," he says, "what sound does your heart make when you stop chasing after it?" You're not sure how to answer. The monk closes his eyes and inhales deeply, as if savoring the question rather than rushing for an answer. You notice the way the sunlight dapples his face through the pine needles. Zen masters might ask. He continues, "If a bell doesn't ring, does that mean it has no voice? Or is its silence the voice we've all been too busy to hear?" The breeze stirs again. You think about how often you fill quiet moments with noise music conversations, scrolling endlessly, anything but silence. The monk reaches into his sleeve and pulls out a small wooden striker. He places it gently on your open palms. If you want to hear the bell first, listen to the part of yourself that is already quiet. You hold the striker loosely. It's surprisingly light warm from his touch. Try closing your eyes, he suggests. Let go of needing to understand. Let the silence show you something instead. So you sit there, eyes closed, breathing slowly. At first, your mind resists. The familiar chatter rises up. Worries, tasks, undone memories. But after a while, they begin to feel like leaves drifting on a stream, each one floating gently past. In the stillness, you hear it. Not a sound, but a presence, like the faint hum of existence itself, steady and deep. Could this be the bell's song? The monk opens his eyes, watching you quietly. The Buddha taught that clinging fuels suffering, whether we cling to sound, to thoughts, or even to silence itself. When you let go, everything becomes clear. You open your eyes and meet his gaze. "What happens if I strike the bell?" you ask. He smiles. Perhaps nothing. Or perhaps the whole universe will listen with you. He rises slowly and walks back toward the temple. The wooden floorboards creak under his bare feet, but it feels like part of the rhythm of the place. You sit alone now, holding the striker, staring at the silent bell. For the first time, you don't feel the urge to hit it. The bell is enough as it is. You are enough as you are. The garden of falling leaves. Letting go gently, Walking through an autumn garden, you reflect on impermanence as each leaf teaches a lesson about release. The next morning, you find yourself wandering through the temple's garden. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of wet earth and the sweetness of fallen leaves. The sky above is pale blue, brushed with the soft gray of drifting clouds. As you walk, your sandals crunch gently over a path blanketed in crisp autumn leaves. Each step stirs a rustle, tiny voices whispering about change, about letting go. You stop beneath a towering maple tree. Its branches are nearly bare, save for a few crimson leaves clinging tightly, shivering in the breeze. Why do they hold on so long, you wonder aloud? Behind you, the monk's voice answers softly, almost as if it had been waiting there all along, because they do not yet realize the joy of falling. You turn to see him standing just beyond the stone lantern, hands folded within his robes. His eyes twinkle, reflecting the warm gold of the garden. "Sit with me," he says, motioning toward a bench carved from a single slab of wood. You settle in beside him, feeling the coolness of the seat beneath you. Letting go, he begins, is not something we humans do easily. We cling to people, to memories, even to pain. We think we are holding life together when, in fact, we are only tiring our own hands. You glance back up at the maple leaves, their edges curled and brittle, trembling in the wind's playful fingers. "Look at them," he murmurs. "When the time is right, they surrender without protest. They trust the breeze to carry them to the earth. That is their wisdom." You nod, watching as one lone leaf detaches from a branch. It spirals gently down, landing softly on the mossy ground. Zen masters might ask, what would happen if you loosened your grip on the branch you cling to? Would you fall, or would you finally float free? The monk leans back slightly, his gaze following the dance of another falling leaf. The Buddha taught impermanence as one of life's greatest truths. Everything changes: our thoughts, our bodies, our loves. To resist this is to resist life itself. You breathe deeply, feeling your chest rise and fall like the soft swell of a quiet sea. Even silence changes. You say quietly, remembering the bell that never rings. The monk smiles. "Yes. But notice there's a difference between letting go and pushing away. One is soft, like the leaf drifting down. The other is forceful, like tearing a leaf before its time." He reaches into his robe and pulls out a small folded piece of paper. Opening it carefully, he holds it out for you to read. On it are 3 brushstrokes painted in flowing ink. A leaf does not fall in anger. You trace the strokes with your eyes, feeling their meaning seep into you. "Try this," he says. As you breathe in, imagine gathering all your tension. As you breathe out, let it go like a leaf on the wind. You close your eyes, inhaling slowly. The crisp air fills your lungs, and with the exhale, you feel a faint release, not dramatic, but enough to notice. "Again," he whispers. You breathe in and out, again and again, until even your clenched thoughts begin to loosen like fingers uncurling. The monk stands, his robe brushing softly against the fallen leaves. There is nothing to grasp here, nothing to fight for. The leaf's journey ends in stillness, yet the tree lives on. You watch as he walks away, the sound of his sandals fading into the hush of the garden. For a long moment you sit alone with the trees. The wind rustles gently through their branches, sending a cascade of red and gold fluttering to the ground. And for the first time in what feels like years, you don't try to catch them. You just watch them fall. The empty cup, receiving without holding on over tea. An elder monk shows you how an empty cup can hold the entire universe. Later that afternoon, you find yourself drawn to the temple's small tea room. A quiet space that smells faintly of sandalwood and steeped jasmine leaves. The walls are simple wood darkened with age, and a single window lets in a shaft of golden light that falls across the tatami mat like a warm embrace. You sit cross-legged at a low table. In front of you, an elder monk pours steaming tea from a delicate clay pot, his movements slow and deliberate, as if each gesture is a kind of prayer. The air is thick with stillness. Even the faint sound of water dripping outside seems to pause here. "Would you like some tea?" the monk asks softly. You nod. He pours carefully, the stream of tea falling into your cup like liquid amber. When he finishes, he doesn't hand you the cup. Instead, he sets it down and looks at you. "Tell me," he says, "is your cup full?" You glance at it. The cup is only half filled. "No," you reply. The monk smiles faintly. "And what about here?" He taps gently at your forehead. "Is this cup full?" You hesitate. Your mind races with thoughts of work, memories, worries, all tumbling over each other like restless fish in a shallow pond. Maybe you admit. He nods. Zen masters say an empty cup can hold the entire universe. A full one overflows and misses the gift. He gestures for you to lift the cup. As you hold it in your hands, you notice how warm it feels, how perfectly it fits between your palms. "Take a sip," he says. You bring the cup to your lips, tasting the tea. It's subtle with notes of flowers and earth gentle, yet it seems to awaken every part of your tongue. "Good tea," you murmur. The monk chuckles quietly. Good tea, a bad tea. It doesn't matter. What matters is whether you're here to drink it or thinking about something else while you do. You pause, realizing that even now, part of your mind had been wandering. "Try again," he says kindly. "This time drink as if there is only tea. Nothing else exists." You lift the cup again, letting the aroma fill your nose. This time, as the warm liquid touches your tongue, you stay present. The taste expands, and for a moment there's no past or future, just this sip. You see, the monk whispers, "Life isn't something we need to hold on to. It's something we experience in each moment as it passes through us, like tea flowing through an empty cup." You set the cup down, noticing how the steam rises and curls before disappearing. Zen masters might ask, if your mind is already full, how can peace pour in? The monk pours another cup for himself. He holds it in both hands, gazing into the pale liquid as if it contains the whole sky. "The Buddha taught non-attachment," he says softly. "It's not about rejecting the world. It's about not clinging so tightly that you can't feel it flow." Outside, a breeze stirs the bamboo chimes, their hollow tones dancing lightly in the air. You realize something. Maybe emptiness isn't loneliness. Maybe it's space for life to enter. As you finish the last sip of tea, the monk rises, bowing slightly before leaving the room. You remain seated, cradling the empty cup in your hands. It feels full somehow. Echoes in the mountain, listening to quiet wisdom. You wander into the mountains, learning that silence often speaks louder than words. The next day, you decide to follow a winding path that leads out of the temple grounds, up into the forested hills behind it. The morning air is crisp, carrying the earthy scent of moss and pine. Each step you take crunches lightly on a bed of fallen needles, and with every breath, you feel your chest expand a little easier, your mind growing quieter. The path leads higher and higher until the trees thin and you reach a wide plateau. Here the air is even cooler, almost weightless. From this height, the world below seems far away, like an old memory, faded and gentle. You stop to rest on a flat stone near the edge of the plateau. The view stretches for miles, rolling hills, rice paddies, small villages with wisps of smoke curling lazily from chimneys. And then you notice its silence. Not the absence of sound, but a deeper kind of stillness, as though the mountains themselves are holding their breath. You close your eyes and listen. At first, all you hear is the thud of your own heartbeat, the soft rush of your breath. Then slowly, you notice smaller sounds, the wind threading through tall grasses, the distant call of a bird. And beneath it all, a quiet hum, subtle, steady, like the pulse of the earth. A voice drifts toward you so soft, you almost think you imagined it. You hear it now, don't you? You open your eyes. The monk is sitting cross-legged on a boulder nearby, his robe fluttering in the breeze. He hadn't made a sound climbing up, but somehow he's here. That hum, he says. It's the sound of everything. You tilt your head. It's so faint. The monk smiles. That's because we're so loud. Not here. He taps the side of his head lightly. Here. Zen masters might ask, what would you hear if you stopped shouting inside yourself? He rises and walks over to you, moving slowly as though every step is an offering to the ground beneath his feet. Most people think wisdom comes from knowing more, he says softly. But often it comes from quieting down enough to hear what's already here. You think about the bell at the temple, the one that never rings. Perhaps its silence is not emptiness, but fullness. The monk gestures to the mountains stretching across the horizon. When the mind grows quiet, he says even the rocks will speak. You glance at the stone beneath your hand. Its surface is rough, cool, unyielding. And yet it has sat here for centuries, watching seasons change rivers, carve valleys, people come and go. What would it say, you murmur? The monk smiles again. Maybe nothing. Or maybe it would say you don't need to hold so tightly. You take a deep breath, letting it out slowly, and for a moment the silence wraps around you like a soft cloak. The Buddha once said, the monk adds, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. You nod, feeling the truth of it settle in your chest. The monk turns to leave his steps, barely disturbing the stillness. As you sit there alone again, you listen not for anything in particular, but for the quiet itself. And in that quiet, you begin to hear yourself. Not the thoughts, not the noise, just the gentle rhythm of your own being. The lanterns glow. Finding light in simplicity. A simple act of lighting a lantern reveals how inner peace shines from within. As dusk settles over the temple, you find yourself drawn to the small lantern room tucked behind the main hall. The scent of melted wax and faint sandalwood incense fills the air, soft and comforting. Rows of paper lanterns hang from the ceiling, swaying gently with the evening breeze. Their glow is warm but subtle, like little suns trying not to outshine the stars outside. You run your fingers along one of them, feeling the delicate rice paper under your touch. It's so fragile, yet somehow it holds the light with quiet strength. A voice murmurs behind you, low and steady. Light doesn't come from the lantern. You turn to see the monk standing at the doorway, a small bundle of fresh candles in his hands. His face is lit softly by the lanterns, every wrinkle casting a gentle shadow. It comes from within, he adds. He steps into the room and begins lighting each new candle. With each spark, the glow spreads not fiercely but patiently, as if the flame knows it has all the time in the world. Would you like to light one, he asks, holding out a matchstick. You hesitate, then nod. Kneeling carefully, you strike the match. The tip flares to life with a quiet hiss, and you guide it to a waiting wick. The flame takes hold, flickering shyly at first, then growing steady. The monk watches you, eyes soft. So many people think peace is something they must chase. But you don't need to run to find the sun. It's already here, waiting for you to open the shutters. Zen masters might ask, if you stopped searching for light, would you notice it's already shining from your own heart? You sit back on your heels watching the lantern you lit. Its glow joins the others, and together they paint soft circles of light across the floorboards. The Buddha spoke of simplicity, the monk says. Simplicity is not about having nothing. It's about needing little, about finding joy in what is already enough. He gestures to the rows of lanterns. Each one holds only a small flame, but together they can guide travelers through the darkest night. You glance around, noticing how the light fills every corner without forcing itself there. It simply arrives softly and fully. Try this, the monk suggests. As you breathe in, imagine gathering the gentle light of these lanterns into your chest. As you breathe out, let that light spread through your body, through the room, through the world. You close your eyes and begin. With each breath, a calm warmth rises within you, expanding until it feels as though you're glowing too. When you open your eyes, the monk is smiling faintly. Peace isn't far away, he says. It lives where you are. He turns to leave the sway of his robe catching the lantern light, like a faint ripple on water. You stay a while longer, letting the lanterns keep you company. For the first time in a long time, the thought crosses your mind. Maybe I don't need to add anything more to this moment. Maybe it's whole already. The lantern before you flickers softly as if in quiet agreement. The bamboo flute, breathing through life's changes. A master flutist teaches you how the breath flowing through bamboo transforms into music and insight. The following morning, you wake early to the sound of soft notes drifting through the air, faint and airy like whispers carried on the wind. Curious, you follow the sound past the temple gates, down a narrow stone path lined with bamboo. The stalks rise tall and green, on either side their leaves rustling with each passing breeze. Shafts of golden sunlight pierce through the canopy, creating patches of warmth that dance along the path. As you walk, the melody grows clearer. A bamboo flute, its voice delicate, yet steady, as though the music itself were breathing. Soon you come to a clearing where an old monk sits cross-legged on a moss-covered stone, holding the flute to his lips. His robe pools around him like still water, and his eyes are half-closed, focused not on the world, but on the sound flowing through him. He finishes a long, gentle note, then lowers the flute and opens his eyes. "You found me," he says softly, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "I heard the music," you reply. "It felt like it was calling me." The monk gestures for you to sit. "The bamboo flute doesn't make music on its own," he says. "It's hollow. It needs breath to become something more." You settle onto the grass, noticing how cool and damp it feels beneath your fingers. "Life is the same," he continues. "We too are hollow in a way made to let breath, experience, and light pass through us. But most of us try to hold too tightly, forgetting we're meant to flow." He lifts the flute again, letting the wind carry a few soft, wandering notes before lowering it once more. Zen masters might ask, what would happen if you allowed life to pass through you instead of clinging to it? Would you find music in the hollowness? You glance at the flute, its polished bamboo surface catching the light. "Try holding it," the monk offers, extending it toward you. You take it carefully, surprised at how light it feels in your hands. You lift it to your lips, but hesitate, unsure of how to shape the sound. "Breathe," the monk says gently, not with force, not with fear. Just breathe and let the flute do what it was made for. You take a slow breath, exhaling softly into the mouthpiece. At first, only air rushes out a hollow sigh. But then a faint tone emerges, wavering, imperfect, but undeniably music. The monk nods approvingly. There it is. Even a whisper can become a song if you let it flow. You lower the flute and glance at him. "I didn't think I could do it." He smiles. The Buddha taught that change begins not with effort, but with allowing. Allow your breath to move. Allow your thoughts to drift. Allow life to unfold. You take another deep breath, feeling it expand your chest. As you exhale, you imagine all the tightness inside you loosening, dissolving into the breeze. The monk picks up the flute once more, and together you sit in silence as his notes rise and fall like waves on a quiet shore. In that moment, you feel it, your breath flowing like music through the hollow bamboo of your being. Nothing to hold, nothing to force, just breath and the simple beauty it carries. The willow tree, bending without breaking. Sitting under a willow, you explore resilience and the art of yielding without losing yourself. As the sun begins its slow descent in the sky, you wander to the edge of the temple grounds. There, near a small pond, stands a great willow tree. Its long, slender branches sway gently in the breeze, dipping their tips into the water like delicate fingers tracing ripples. You sit beneath it, leaning your back against the rough bark. The air is cooler here, thick with the scent of damp earth and fresh leaves. The monk appears once again, so quietly that you don't hear his footsteps until he's already beside you. He lowers himself onto the grass, his robe folding neatly around him like flowing water. Willow trees, he says softly, have survived countless storms. Do you know why? You shake your head. They don't resist the wind, he continues. They bend. They let the wind pass through their branches, and when it's gone, they return to stillness. You watch as a breeze picks up, causing the willow's branches to sway wildly. Yet the tree doesn't break. It dances. Zen masters might ask, when the storms of life come, do you stand stiff and risk snapping, or do you bend and sway like the willow? You take a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill your lungs. I've spent so much time trying to stay strong, you admit quietly, holding my ground, pushing back. The monk nods. Strength isn't about resisting. It's about knowing when to yield, when to let go. He reaches down and plucks a fallen willow leaf from the grass. The Buddha taught that clinging whether to pain, anger, or even joy creates suffering. True resilience comes from softening your grip. He places the leaf in your palm. It's small, light, almost weightless. Try this, he says. As you inhale, imagine the winds of your worries swirling around you. As you exhale, let yourself sway, like the willow bending but unbroken. You close your eyes and breathe deeply. Inhale, your mind fills with the gusts of tension, doubts, and fears. Exhale, you feel yourself loosen gently, rocking with the invisible breeze. For a moment, you almost hear the willow whispering to you, its branches sighing in the wind. It's okay to yield. You are still rooted. You are still whole. When you open your eyes, the monk is watching you with a faint smile. Peace doesn't mean avoiding storms, he says. It means learning to dance with them. The sun dips lower, casting a golden glow across the pond. The willow's reflection shimmers in the water, beautiful in its softness. You reach out and touch the surface of the pond. The ripples spread outwards, gentle and unhurried. For the first time in a long while, you feel flexible. Not weak, not rigid, just at ease. The silent bell rings, awakening to freedom. At last, the silent bell rings in your heart, teaching that true freedom is letting go completely. It's your last evening at the temple. The air is cool and still, as if even the breeze has paused to listen. You find yourself drawn back to the courtyard, where the silent bell hangs its bronze surface glowing faintly in the moonlight. You stand before it, staring at the smooth green patina that has deepened over the centuries. The striker you held days ago rests nearby on a wooden platform, just as you left it. You reach out and run your fingers lightly over the bell's cold surface. It doesn't make a sound. The monk steps into the courtyard. His presence so quiet, it feels as though he has emerged from the shadows themselves. You've been thinking about this bell, he says softly, wondering what its silence means. You nod. He walks to stand beside you, gazing up at the great bronze curve. You see, the bell was cast many generations ago, but no one ever struck it. Not once. Why, you ask? Because some lessons are louder in silence, the monk says. Zen masters might ask, if a bell never rings, does it mean it failed its purpose? Or does it mean its purpose was never to ring at all? You're not sure how to answer. The monk turns his calm eyes to you. "You've been holding something tightly in your heart," he says gently. "A sound you've been waiting to hear. But perhaps the bell has already rung, not with noise, but with stillness." You take a slow breath. For a moment, the entire world seems to inhale with you. "What happens if I strike it now?" you whisper. The monk smiles faintly. "Perhaps nothing will happen. Or perhaps you'll hear the sound that's been waiting all along, not with your ears, but with your heart." He gestures toward the striker. You pick it up, feeling its smooth wooden handle warm in your hand. You close your eyes, lift the striker, and hold it there for a long moment. But then, you lower it. "I don't need to hear it," you say softly. The monk nods approvingly, and that he whispers is when the bell rings. You realize he's right. Somewhere deep inside you, something loosens, like a knot untangling after years of tension. The bell's silence fills the courtyard, rich and full, humming through your chest like a quiet truth. You smile for the first time in days, not because of a sound, not because of an answer, but because there's nothing left to grasp. The monk places a hand on your shoulder. "The Buddha taught that freedom is not gained by holding on," he says. "It is found in letting go." And as you stand there beneath the pale moonlight and the silent bell, you feel it. You are free. The courtyard is quiet now, the night deep and endless above you. A soft breeze stirs the leaves, and somewhere in the distance, a night bird calls gently. You close your eyes and let your breath slow the rise and fall of your chest, becoming smaller, lighter. With every exhale, imagine the weight of the day slipping away, like leaves falling gently from a tree, floating down into a calm, clear stream. The monk's words echo faintly in your mind. Let go, just let go. And so you do. In this stillness, you begin to notice the subtler sounds around you. The soft rustle of your clothes, the whisper of your pulse in your ears, the quiet hum of existence itself. What would happen if you stopped chasing peace and simply allowed it to arrive? Your body grows heavier in the best way, your shoulders sinking, your hands resting loosely in your lap. And as your breath softens even more, you realize that peace isn't something to find. It's something you remember. It was here all along, waiting patiently for you to notice. So let your thoughts drift now. Let them float like lanterns released onto a still lake, each one glowing softly as it fades into the distance. Feel your breath slow. Feel every muscle soften. You are safe. You are enough. You are already home. The path to inner peace. Vertical bar. Drinking tea with awareness. A meditation on presence, section 1. The tea house invitation. Stepping into stillness, a monk invites you to a quiet tea house to begin an unexpected lesson in presence. Hey guys, tonight we're going to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. If your mind's been racing all day, these tales might gently pull you back to the stillness waiting within. Imagine sitting in a quiet tea house, the air fragrant with jasmine and wood smoke, where every gesture carries a secret lesson about presence. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it right now? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk along a narrow path lined with stepping stones, the sound of your sandals soft against the earth. A gentle breeze stirs the bamboo leaves overhead, creating a sound like distant rain. The afternoon sun hangs low, casting warm, golden light across the temple gardens. Ahead, a monk stands waiting beside a small wooden tea house. His robe moves faintly in the breeze, and his hands are folded calmly in front of him. "Ah, there you are," he says. his voice quiet but carrying with it a kind of gravity that makes you stop thinking about where you came from or where you're going. He gestures for you to follow him inside. The tea house is simple, bare wood floors, paper walls, and a single low table set with 2 cups and a clay teapot. The air smells faintly of fresh leaves and warm stone. "Sit," the monk says, lowering himself gracefully onto a cushion. "We'll begin soon." You sit opposite him, tucking your legs beneath you. For a moment, neither of you speaks. The silence feels strange at first, like a pause that's too long in a conversation. But as you breathe in, you begin to notice how restful it is to not have to say anything at all. The monk picks up the clay teapot, his movements slow and deliberate. Zen isn't about rushing toward answers, he murmurs. It's about noticing the space between questions. He pours hot water into the pot, the steam curling upward in soft, ghostly tendrils. The sound is delicate, almost musical as the liquid fills the vessel. "You may think this is just tea," he says, "but in truth, it is a doorway." Zen masters might ask, if you can't be present with a simple cup of tea, how will you ever be present with your own life? You watch as the monk gently swirls the pot, then sets it down, waiting patiently as the leaves steep. The Buddha taught mindfulness as a path to freedom, he says. To drink tea without awareness is to live half asleep. But to drink tea with full presence, that is awakening. The steam continues to rise, catching the sunlight streaming through the paper window. It twists and vanishes, leaving nothing behind. "Do you see how it disappears?" the monk asks softly. That is how each moment of life passes, here, then gone. And yet we rarely notice. You feel the heat of the teacup as he slides it gently toward you. The clay is smooth and warm under your fingers. Before you drink, feel the weight of the cup, he instructs. Notice its texture, its warmth. This is the first step. You obey, cradling the cup in both hands. Most people rush past this part, he says, watching you. They're already thinking of the next sip or the conversation they'll have after tea. But Zen invites us to stay here in this one breath, in this one touch. You inhale deeply, catching the faint aroma of jasmine and earth. There's no rush. For the first time in a long time, you don't feel pulled forward or backward. You simply are. The monk smiles faintly. Good. Now let the tea remind you of your own life, fragile, fragrant, and already enough. The steam swirls once more between you, soft as a whisper. And for a moment, the whole world feels as simple and complete as a warm cup held in 2 hands. The warm cup. Savoring the moment, you learn to hold a cup of tea as if it were the entire universe. Section 2. The teacup rests in your hands, its warmth seeping into your palms, quiet and steady. You hold it there for a long moment, breathing in the gentle aroma that rises with the steam. Jasmine and earth mingle with the faint scent of the wooden floor beneath you. The monk watches you silently, his face soft and still. When you hold this cup, he says, you are also holding a moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, just this. You nod faintly, though part of your mind still wants to rush forward to drink, to taste, to get to the next thing. The monk notices your restlessness and smiles. Zen masters sometimes say, don't sip the tea yet. First, sip the moment. You glance at him, unsure what to do. Close your eyes, he suggests. Feel the heat against your skin. Notice how your fingers curl around the clay. Listen to your breath as it moves through you. You do as he says. At first, all you notice is the chatter in your own mind. Thoughts about how long you've been sitting, stray worries tugging at your attention. But then, slowly a shift. The cup feels heavier in your hands, not in weight, but in presence. You sense the faint texture of the clay, the way it fits perfectly between your palms. Your breath slows, softens, and the noise inside begins to quiet. This, the monk whispers, is drinking before drinking. It's how we return home to ourselves. He pours his own cup and lifts it carefully. The tea's surface trembles slightly, catching the dim light of the room like a miniature pond. The Buddha spoke of mindfulness, he says. He taught us to inhabit each moment fully, even in small acts, like walking or eating. To be present is to truly live. You open your eyes and watch as he raises the cup to his lips, but doesn't drink. Instead, he inhales slowly, as though savoring the scent is as nourishing as the taste. Many people swallow life whole, he says. They consume, but they do not taste. And so they wonder why they feel so empty. Zen masters might ask, if you cannot find peace in a single sip, where else do you think you will find it? You bring the cup closer to your lips. The steam touches your face warm and fragrant, like a whisper across your skin. Wait, the monk says gently. You pause the tea hovering inches away. Notice how even your desire to drink creates tension, he says. Let go of that grasping. Rest here for a breath or two, and you may find the tea was never separate from you. You take a slow inhale, feeling the faint tightness in your chest begin to ease. Then at last he nods. Now, take a sip. You tilt the cup and let the liquid touch your lips. The taste is subtle. Delicate jasmine earthy notes, a faint sweetness that lingers on your tongue. For a moment, everything else falls away. There is no past, no future, no story playing in your head. Just warm, tea-fragrant steam and the quiet hum of your own breath. When you set the cup down, you realize your hands are no longer clenched. Your shoulders have softened. The monk smiles faintly. In that sip, you were awake. Can you feel it? You nod, still tasting the tea in your mouth, though it's already gone. Awareness transforms the simplest acts into meditation, he says softly. To eat, to walk, to breathe, all can be sacred if you are present. Outside, the bamboo leaves rustle as a breeze passes through. You hear it not as background noise, but as music. And for the first time in a long time, you aren't thinking about what comes next. You're here, fully here. The steam rising. Seeing impermanence. Clearly, as steam curls upward, the monk reflects on life's fleeting nature. You sit quietly, hands still resting around the teacup, though the liquid within has cooled slightly. A faint tendril of steam continues to rise, twisting upward before vanishing into the still air. The monk leans back slightly, watching the dance of the steam. Look closely, he murmurs. The tea's warmth creates this mist. It rises, curls, disappears. You follow his gaze. The steam never lingers. It does not resist the air. It simply appears and fades, without grasping at its form. His words settle over you like a soft blanket. Zen masters might ask, are you more like the tea settled and warm, or the steam constantly vanishing into the next moment? You shift slightly, unsure how to answer. The monk smiles. The Buddha taught that all things are impermanent. Our joys, our sorrows, our thoughts, they rise like steam, then drift away. You nod faintly, remembering the times you've tried to hold on to something, a feeling, a person, a moment only, to watch it slip from your grasp, no matter how tightly you clung. Most suffering comes from trying to trap the steam, the monk continues. But how can you hold what was never meant to stay? He lifts his own cup, gazing into the pale surface of the tea. Some monks spend years watching the breath, learning to notice its coming and going without clinging to it. Even this simple practice can awaken deep insight. Outside, a bird calls from the bamboo grove. Its cry echoes briefly, then fades into silence. Did you hear it? The monk asks softly. The sound came and went, and now it lives only as memory. You nod. He sets his cup down and looks at you intently. Try this, he says. Close your eyes and imagine your thoughts as steam rising from a hot spring. Watch each one appear, swirl, and dissolve. Do not follow them. Do not hold them. just let them rise and fade. You close your eyes and breathe deeply. At first, the thoughts come quickly. Snippets of conversation, stray worries, flashes of memory. Each thought feels solid, like something to grab onto. But as you continue to watch, they begin to feel lighter, softer, like wisps of vapor rising into cool air. You realize you don't need to chase them. They dissolve on their own. A calm spreads through your chest, not heavy, not sharp, just quiet. When you open your eyes again, the monk is watching you with that same faint smile. You see, he whispers, "The steam teaches us everything passes." And in that passing, there is peace. You glance back at your cup. The steam is gone now, and yet the tea remains. Perhaps peace isn't found in holding on. Perhaps it comes in noticing the rising and the fading and staying soft in between. The monk's eyes twinkle as he stands slowly, robes brushing against the tatami floor. "You've begun to see," he says gently. "Keep watching. Even in stillness, life is moving." And with that, he steps out of the tea house, leaving you alone with the lingering warmth of tea and the quiet truth of impermanence. The first sip tasting awareness. Each sip of tea becomes an opportunity to awaken your senses and mind. The room is quiet, except for the faint creak of wood as you shift slightly on the cushion. The tea in your cup has cooled now, but the faint fragrance still lingers, floral, earthy, delicate. The monk reappears in the doorway carrying a fresh pot of tea. Steam curls upward again, spiraling like incense smoke. He sets it down gently on the table and sits across from you. This time, he says softly, "Drink as if this sip is your first and your last." You glance at him, puzzled. "Most people drink unconsciously," he continues. "They taste nothing because they are already thinking of the next sip or the next task or the next worry. But Zen invites us to drink fully to meet this very moment with all of ourselves." He pours the tea slowly. The stream of liquid catches the light, glowing briefly before settling into the cup with a soft ripple. "Try lifting your cup," he instructs. "But don't rush. Feel the weight. Notice how your fingers curl around the clay. You do as he says." The cup feels slightly warmer this time, its surface smoother than you remembered. Zen masters might ask, what if you approached every act drinking, walking, breathing, as though the whole universe were contained in it? The monk smiles faintly, as if reading your thoughts. To sip tea with awareness is to sip life itself. Nothing is separate. You bring the cup closer to your lips, feeling the faint warmth of the steam against your face. "Pause here," he says gently. "Before you drink, take in the aroma. Let it fill your senses as if scent alone is enough." You inhale slowly, noticing subtle notes of jasmine, a faint, earthy sweetness. Something in you softens. "Now," he whispers, "take a small sip, not too much. Let it sit on your tongue." The liquid touches your lips and slides across your tongue. The taste blooms not strong, but gentle and layered, as though the leaves have whispered their story into the water. "Do you taste it?" the monk asks. You nod. "Stay with that taste," he says. Feel its warmth, its texture, the way it moves before you swallow. You close your eyes and focus. The tea feels alive in your mouth, each nuance unfolding slowly. For a moment there is no yesterday, no tomorrow, only this sip, this warmth, this presence. When you set the cup down, the monk is watching you with calm eyes. The Buddha taught that mindfulness turns ordinary moments into sacred ones, he says. The first sip of tea can be an awakening if you let it. Outside, the breeze stirs the bamboo leaves, creating a soft, rustling lullaby. Most of life is like this tea, the monk continues. Fleeting, delicate, easily missed. But if you're present, even one sip is enough to taste everything. You breathe deeply, letting the warmth settle in your chest. Try to remember this, he says. Each act of awareness is like planting a seed. One day those seeds may bloom into peace. You glance down at the cup. A single drop of tea clings to its rim, catching the light. And you realize, even in such a small drop, there is a whole world. The empty bowl, lessons in letting go. You explore how emptiness creates space for peace to flow in. The monk rises silently and takes the teapot, pouring the last of its contents into your cup. You notice how light it feels now, how empty the pot seems compared to the weight it held before. He sets the pot aside and sits again, folding his hands neatly in his lap. "Tell me," he asks softly, "how does the cup feel now that it's almost empty?" You glance down. The tea has nearly gone, leaving behind only a thin layer at the bottom. "Light," you say quietly. He nods. There is a teaching in Zen about emptiness, not as nothingness, but as space. The space to receive. You lift the cup, feeling its warmth fading. An empty bowl can be filled, the monk says. A full bowl has no room for anything new. It overflows, spilling its contents. Zen masters might ask, if you emptied your heart of its burdens, what peace could pour in? You think about the heaviness you've been carrying, the worries, the plans, the constant need to hold on, and you wonder what it would feel like to set it all down. The monk leans forward slightly, his eyes calm and steady. The Buddha taught that clinging leads to suffering, he says. We hold tight to ideas, to possessions, to identities. And in holding so tightly, we leave no space for peace to flow in. He reaches for a small wooden bowl resting on the table. Turning it upside down, he sets it gently on the floor. An upside-down bowl cannot be filled either, he continues. We must not only empty ourselves, but also open ourselves. You watch as he turns the bowl upright again, its hollow interior facing the ceiling. Try this, he suggests. As you exhale, imagine emptying your bowls, pouring out your tension, your thoughts, your worries. As you inhale, allow space to open within you. You close your eyes and breathe deeply. Inhale, fresh air fills your lungs, cool and light. Exhale. You picture your burdens flowing out, leaving a soft, spacious quiet in their place. Again and again, breath by breath, you sense the weight inside you lifting. When you open your eyes, the monk is smiling faintly. You are beginning to understand, he whispers. The cup does not lose itself by being emptied. In emptiness, it becomes ready to hold the entire sky. Outside, a single bamboo leaf detaches from its stalk and drifts slowly to the ground. And for the first time, you don't feel the need to reach for it. You simply watch it fall. The bamboo grove. Listening to quiet wisdom, the monk takes you outside to discover insights hidden in nature's silence. The monk rises and gestures for you to follow him outside. You step out of the tea house into the soft evening air. The sun is low on the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of amber and rose. A faint breeze carries the scent of bamboo and earth. You walk in silence, following a narrow path that winds into a grove of tall bamboo stalks. Their green stems rise high above you, swaying gently, their leaves whispering secrets to the wind. The monk stops and sits on a flat stone near the heart of the grove. You settle on the ground beside him, the cool grass brushing your hands. Listen, he says softly. At first, all you hear is the faint rustle of leaves. Then, as you sit longer, other sounds emerge. The creak of bamboo stems swaying, the distant trickle of water, your own breath moving in and out. This grove is alive with quiet wisdom, the monk says. But you can only hear it if you stop talking, even inside your mind. You close your eyes and let the sounds wrap around you like a gentle blanket. Zen masters might ask, if you stopped chasing your thoughts, what truths would come to you on their own? The Buddha spoke of deep listening, the monk continues. Not just to words, but to silence. In silence, the heart softens. It becomes open to what cannot be spoken. You open your eyes and look up at the bamboo. The tall stalks sway gracefully, yielding to every breeze, but never breaking. See how they move, the monk asks. They bend, but they do not resist. In yielding, they remain strong. You take a slow breath, feeling the air expand your chest. Try this, he suggests. As you inhale, listen deeply, not just to sounds, but to the spaces between them. As you exhale, let the quiet fill you. You breathe in and hear the wind sliding between the bamboo stalks. You breathe out and feel a stillness settle inside you, as if your own thoughts have grown soft and quiet. The bamboo teaches us resilience, the monk whispers. To stand tall, we must also know how to bend. For a long moment, you sit together without speaking. The grove hums faintly with life, each sound blending into the next like notes in a gentle song. When you finally rise, you feel lighter, somehow less rigid, more fluid, as though you too could sway without breaking. The monk smiles as you turn back toward the path. You're learning, he says softly. The tea gave you presence, the bamboo gave you breath. Together they are enough. As you walk back to the tea house, the sun dips below the horizon, and the first stars begin to shimmer faintly above the treetops. And for the first time, you feel no rush to get anywhere. You are already here. The last drop understanding enoughness. You reflect on contentment and the beauty of a single complete moment. Back at the tea house, the monk lights a small oil lamp. Its glow fills the room with a warm golden hue as shadows gather softly in the corners. You notice the way the flame flickers, but never goes out calm and steady like the monk himself. He pours the last of the tea into your cup. Only a few drops remain in the pot, but he does not rush or apologize for the small amount. Sometimes he says the last drop is the sweetest. You lift the cup and feel its lightness. The tea's fragrance is fainter now, but it still carries the quiet strength of the leaves steeped earlier. As you take a small sip, the warmth spreads through your body, not just in your throat and chest, but in some deeper place, as if the tea has found a home inside you. The monk watches you carefully. People often ask for more, he says softly. More tea, more time, more life. But Zen asks, what if this is enough? You lower the cup and look at him, unsure how to respond. He smiles faintly as if sensing your hesitation. Enoughness is not about settling or giving up. It is about realizing that you are already whole, even in this moment. Zen masters might ask, if you stop reaching for one more sip, one more achievement, would you discover you already hold the entire ocean in your hands? The oil lamp flickers gently, casting soft shadows on the walls. The Buddha taught contentment as a jewel, the monk continues. To find joy in what is here, not in what might come. He takes his own cup and tilts it slightly, watching the tea swirl inside. Try this, he says. As you drink, whisper to yourself, this is enough. Not because it's perfect, but because it is. You take another sip this time, slower, letting the warmth linger on your tongue. This is enough, you whisper silently. And as you do something inside, you softens like a tight knot, finally untying. The monk sets his empty cup down with a quiet click. Enoughness is not about holding, he says. It is about noticing. When you notice deeply, even one breath can be complete. The breeze outside rustles through the bamboo leaves, carrying with it the faint scent of evening flowers. You inhale deeply and feel it contentment rising like a gentle tide, filling you without effort. There is no longing, no clinging, no grasping for more. Just this sip, this breath. And somehow, it is more than enough. The monk rises, his movements unhurried. He takes the empty pot and steps quietly into the back room, leaving you alone with your tea and the soft glow of the oil lamp. You sit there for a long time, the last taste of tea still lingering faintly on your tongue. And for the first time, you don't wish for more. The tea house at dusk awakening presence. As day fades, you find peace, not in the tea, but in simply being. The tea house grows quieter as dusk settles fully outside. The oil lamp's glow softens, and the air feels cooler now, carrying the faint scent of moss and distant rain. You sit alone for a few moments, cradling the empty cup in your hands. Its warmth has faded, but somehow it still feels alive, as if the tea has left something behind. A quiet echo in the clay. The monk returns his steps soundless on the tatami floor. He carries no teapot this time, no cup, no tools of ritual. He simply folds himself down onto a cushion across from you and rests his hands lightly in his lap. "Tell me," he says gently, "what did the tea teach you?" You take a slow breath, searching for the right words. "That every moment is already full," you reply softly, "even the smallest sip." The monk smiles faintly. "Yes, the tea was never about tea." He gestures toward the window, where the last light of day filters through the paper screen. The tea was the doorway. But presence is the path. Zen masters might ask, if there were no tea, no ritual, no teacher, would you still find peace within yourself? You lower your gaze to your hands, still gently cupping the empty vessel. Perhaps you murmur. The monk leans forward slightly, his voice low and steady. The Buddha taught that awakening is not an arrival, but a remembering. You were always here. This breath, this moment, it is the only thing you have ever truly owned. Outside, a night bird calls softly, its song dissolving into the thickening dusk. "Try this," the monk says. "Close your eyes and listen not for anything in particular, but for everything." You obey. At first you notice the sounds. The faint rustle of bamboo leaves the whisper of wind. Against the wooden walls, the subtle crackle of the oil lamp's flame. Then you notice the spaces between sounds, wide open, endless. And in those spaces you feel it. Presence. Not a thought, not an effort. Just a soft awareness, as if the whole world is breathing with you. You open your eyes slowly. The monk is watching you, his gaze calm and unhurried. "You've heard it now," he says. The silence that speaks louder than words. The presence that does not come or go. He rises slowly, his robe whispering against the floor. "Take this with you," he says. Not as a lesson, but as a way of being. Each sip of tea, each breath, each step, they are all invitations to return home. He bows faintly, then steps out of the tea house, leaving you alone in the golden light. You sit there for a long time, your hands resting lightly on the empty cup. And in the stillness you realize you are already whole. The night deepens outside, the stars just beginning to shimmer faintly overhead. You hear the soft rustle of bamboo leaves in the cool breeze and the faint song of a cricket in the distance. You close your eyes and let your breath slow each inhale and exhale, growing softer, lighter, like waves lapping gently on a quiet shore. Imagine now that you are still holding the cup of tea. Feel its warmth filling your palms, even as it cools. With each breath, let go of the day's worries, letting them slip from your fingers like water flowing out of an open vessel. There is no need to chase anything, no need to hold tightly. You are already here, and here is enough. The monk's words echo softly in your mind. Each sip is life itself, fragile, fleeting, but whole. As your breath deepens, picture your thoughts drifting away like tea leaves swirling in clear water. There is nothing to fix, nothing to grasp, just the quiet, just your own steady breath. You are safe, you are calm, you are home. End of script. Sweet dreams. Wisdom for Sleep Vertical Bar. The Worn Sandals Zen. Insights on Simplicity and Gratitude. Section 1. The Monk's Sandals. A lesson in humility. You notice the old monk's worn sandals and begin to wonder about their story. Hey guys, tonight we're going to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. If your mind's been racing all day, these tales might gently pull you back to the stillness waiting within. Imagine sitting in an old wooden temple as the scent of pine and fresh rain fills the air, where even a pair of worn sandals can teach you how to slow down and embrace life with gratitude. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it for you right now? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk along a narrow stone path winding through a quiet mountain village. The air is cool and smells faintly of cedarwood and moss after a gentle rain. Your sandals press softly into the earth as you follow an old monk walking ahead. He moves slowly, yet there's no hesitation in his steps. His robe brushes the ground with a faint whisper, and his presence feels steady like the roots of an ancient tree. As you draw closer, you notice his sandals. The leather straps are cracked and darkened with years of use, the soles worn smooth by countless steps on forest trails and temple courtyards. One strap has been tied with a thin piece of twine to hold it together. And yet the monk walks as if the sandals were made of gold. You feel a question rising within you. Why do you still wear those old sandals, you ask gently. The monk pauses and looks back, a soft smile forming beneath his tired eyes. These sandals have carried me farther than I ever thought I'd go, he replies. Why would I discard what has served me so faithfully? Zen masters might ask, when something is worn, does it lose its value, or does it gain a deeper beauty? He gestures for you to walk beside him. Simplicity, he says softly, is not about poverty. It's about freedom. When we stop craving what we don't have, we begin to see the gift of what we do. As you walk together, you notice details you might have overlooked before: the tiny droplets clinging to leaves, the earthy scent of wet soil, the way the breeze brushes lightly against your face. Many people live like this. The monk continues, raising his hand as if clutching an invisible object. Holding tightly, always reaching for something newer, shinier, more perfect. But peace comes when you loosen your grip. He wiggles his bare toes slightly in the worn sandals and chuckles. The Buddha taught gratitude as a path to joy, he says. Not gratitude for great fortunes or perfect moments, but for the small, quiet things we carry with us every day. You look down at your own feet and wonder how many miles they've walked without you noticing the ground beneath them. Try this, the monk suggests. With each step, whisper thank you to the earth, to your body, to the moment itself. You try it. Step, thank you. Step, thank you. At first, the words feel awkward, but as you continue, they begin to soften, blending with the rhythm of your walk. The monk smiles faintly. You see, he says, even worn sandals feel lighter when the heart walks in gratitude. The village path opens into a clearing where the air feels fresh and alive. The monk stops, gazing at the horizon, where the mountains rise in soft blue layers. These sandals have seen many roads, he murmurs. But every road has brought me here to this step, this breath, this life. You stand beside him in silence, the cool breeze brushing your face. And for the first time, you sense it not as a thought, but as a quiet truth. You don't need more. You only need to notice what's already carrying you. The path of simplicity. Finding peace in less walking with the monk. You explore how simplicity opens the heart to gratitude. You walk slowly beside the monk as the path curves through a grove of slender pine trees. The air smells sweet and earthy, with the faint tang of resin rising from the sun-warmed trunks. Each step feels softer now, cushioned by the pine needles scattered across the ground. The monk's pace is unhurried. His worn sandals scuff gently with each step, yet there's no sense of struggle or strain, only ease, as though his body has learned to flow with the earth beneath him. "Notice the way your feet meet the ground," he says softly. The ground does not complain. It accepts each step, no matter how heavy, no matter how light. You glance down, watching your own feet. For the first time, you're aware of the slight pressure in your heels, the roll forward to the balls of your feet, the final lift of your toes. This is the path of simplicity, the monk continues. To walk without hurry, to live without excess, to see each step, each breath as enough. Zen masters might ask, if you already have what you need in this step, why rush to the next? He pauses beneath a tall tree, resting one hand lightly against its bark. Most people think they must chase after peace, he says. They run faster and faster, adding more and more to their lives, more things, more plans, more noise. But Zen teaches us to pause and ask, what can I let go of? The breeze stirs and a few pine needles drift lazily to the ground. The Buddha spoke of renunciation, the monk says. Not as a loss, but as a lightening. When we let go of what we don't need, we discover how little is required to be truly happy. He gestures for you to sit with him on a flat stone nearby. You lower yourself carefully, feeling the cool surface against your palms as you balance. Try this, he says. As you breathe in, notice all the things you carry: expectations, desires, worries. As you breathe out, imagine setting them down one by one. You close your eyes and take a slow breath. Inhale, the weight of your thoughts rises to the surface. Exhale, you picture them sliding off your shoulders like a heavy pack being lowered to the ground. Again, inhale, exhale. Each breath leaves you a little lighter. When you open your eyes, the monk is watching you with a faint smile. You felt it, didn't you? He asks. You nod. Simplicity is not about owning nothing, he says. It is about needing little. And when you need little, gratitude comes naturally. He rises slowly, his hand brushing the folds of his robe smooth again. Let us walk on, he says. The world will teach us more if we are willing to walk softly enough to listen. As you stand and follow him, your steps feel different, not rushed, not heavy. Each one feels like a small gift. And for the first time, you realize that gratitude is not something you have to search for. It's already waiting in the quiet space simplicity leaves behind. The river stone, the beauty of imperfect things. By the river, the monk shares insights on wabi-sabi and the grace of the imperfect. The path leads you down a gentle slope until the sound of flowing water reaches your ears, a soft murmur that grows clearer with every step. Soon, you arrive at a river, its surface dappled with sunlight, filtering through the branches above. The monk stops at the water's edge and lowers himself onto a smooth stone. His worn sandals rest beside him, and he dips his bare feet into the cool stream. Sit with me, he says softly. You join him on a nearby rock, feeling the warmth of the stone. Seep into your skin as the river whispers beside you. The monk picks up a small stone from the riverbank, turning it over in his hand. It is irregular, its surface marked by years of tumbling in the current. Look at this stone, he says, holding it out for you to see. It is not perfect. No straight lines, no symmetry. Yet, it has a quiet beauty, don't you think? You nod. He smiles faintly. In Japan, we call this wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection of things that are worn simple and transient. Zen masters might ask, if even a misshapen stone can hold beauty, what about the parts of yourself you call flawed? He tosses the stone gently back into the river, and you watch as it vanishes beneath the rippling water. The Buddha taught that life is like this river, the monk continues. It flows without clinging, carrying leaves, stones, even whole trees downstream. And yet it does not demand that anything be perfect before it passes. You gaze at the water, noticing how it glimmers and shifts with each ripple. Try this, the monk suggests. Choose one thing about yourself, something you've called imperfect. Hold it gently in your mind. And for a moment, imagine it is as natural and beautiful as this river stone. You close your eyes. At first, resistance rises. That imperfection feels sharp, awkward, unwelcome. But as you picture it tumbling in the river, being smoothed over time, something softens. You feel a small sense of acceptance bloom in your chest, like a flower opening in sunlight. When you open your eyes, the monk is watching the river, his expression calm. You see, he murmurs, to accept imperfection is to begin to live. To be grateful even for what is worn and weathered, that is true peace. He stands slowly, his robe brushing against the stones. Come, he says. There is more to see. As you follow him, you glance back once at the river, hearing its voice in the distance. And for the first time, you sense that gratitude is not found in perfection. It is found in the quiet flow of life, carrying even the roughest stones toward beauty. The shared meal, savoring ordinary moments. A simple bowl of rice becomes a profound teaching in presence and contentment. The monk leads you back along a narrow trail that winds upward through a grove of low pines. The ground is soft with fallen needles, and the scent of earth and resin clings to the air. After a while, you arrive at a small clearing where a wooden table sits beneath the shade of an old tree. On it rests a single clay bowl filled with steaming rice and a small plate of pickled vegetables. This is my meal, the monk says, gesturing for you to sit on the bench beside him. The simplicity of it strikes you. No elaborate dishes, no feast, just plain honest food. He folds his hands together and bows slightly toward the bowl. A meal is not just for the body, it is for the heart. He takes up a pair of wooden chopsticks, but instead of eating right away, he holds them for a moment, gazing down at the rice. When we rush through a meal, we miss its gift, he says softly. Every grain of rice holds the effort of countless hands, the farmer, the miller, the cook. Gratitude is seeing the web of life in even a simple bowl. Zen masters might ask, if you cannot be present with one bite of rice, how can you be present with your life? He takes a small bite, chewing slowly, his eyes half closed, as though tasting more than just food. Try this, he says, passing you a second bowl. Lift it with both hands. Feel its weight. Smell its warmth. Before eating, pause and thank all who made this moment possible, even the sun and rain. You lift the bowl carefully. The clay feels warm against your palms. You inhale deeply. The rice smells faintly sweet, and for the first time in a long time, you feel connected, not just to the food, but to everything that brought it here. You take a small bite and chew slowly, just as the monk did. The rice is soft, the flavor mild, yet somehow it feels rich, as if each grain carries its own quiet story. This is enough, the monk whispers. This bite, this breath, this moment. You set the bowl down gently, noticing how your mind has stopped racing. The Buddha taught that contentment does not come from abundance, he says. It comes from knowing how to savor the little you have. A breeze stirs the leaves above you, and sunlight flickers across the table like ripples on water. For a long time, neither of you speaks. You sit together in easy silence, eating slowly, present with each bite. When the meal is done, the monk places his chopsticks neatly across the empty bowl. Gratitude turns even the simplest meal into a feast, he says. You feel it not as an idea, but as a warm, steady truth settling in your chest. Perhaps peace isn't found in having more. Perhaps it's found in seeing what's already here. The empty hut, letting go of possessions. You visit the monk's hut and see how living lightly creates space for joy. After the meal, the monk rises and beckons for you to follow him along a narrow path that climbs gently into the hills. The trees thin out here, replaced by wild grasses swaying softly in the afternoon breeze. Soon you come upon a small hut perched on the hillside. Its walls made of rough timber, its roof patched with thatch. A single paper lantern sways faintly at the doorway. "This is where I live," the monk says, stepping aside so you can enter first. You duck through the low doorway and find yourself in a space no larger than a child's bedroom. A simple mat lies on the floor. A wooden shelf holds a few worn books and a folded robe, and in the corner sits a small altar with a single candle. That's all. No clutter, no decorations, no sign of anything unnecessary. "This hut may seem empty to you," the monk says softly, stepping inside. "But to me, it is full." You look around again, searching for what he means. "In emptiness, there is space," he continues. "Space for breath, for stillness, for gratitude. When the mind is not crowded, peace can enter." Zen masters might ask, if you carried nothing into each moment, what could flow in to fill it? The monk kneels beside the small altar and lights the candle. Its flame flickers gently, casting long shadows across the plain walls. The Buddha spoke of letting go, not just of objects, but of attachments. To live lightly is to walk freely like wind through an open field. He looks over his shoulder at you, his eyes calm and steady. "Try this," he says. "Close your eyes and imagine setting down everything you own, not only your possessions, but also your fears, your plans, even your name. For a moment, let yourself be weightless." You close your eyes and breathe deeply. In your mind, you picture a heavy bag slipping from your shoulders, the contents spilling out onto the ground. You picture a house, its doors wide open, the wind carrying away what's inside. Strangely, the more you let go, the larger the space around you feels. It isn't frightening, it's peaceful. When you open your eyes again, the monk is smiling faintly. "You felt it, didn't you?" he whispers. You nod. "An empty hut does not mean an empty heart," he says. "It means a heart that is ready for anything." He stands and steps outside the breeze, catching the edge of his robe. "Come," he says. "The sun is beginning to set. We still have more to see." As you follow him out of the hut, you glance back once at the plain room, the candle still glowing softly in the fading light. And you think perhaps we don't need to fill every space. Perhaps some spaces are sacred because they are open. The calloused feet. Strength in gentle steps. The monk reflects on the strength found in walking barefoot on life's rough paths. The sun is lower now, and the air carries a faint chill as you follow the monk down a winding trail. The ground beneath your feet shifts from soft grass to rough stones, and you slow your pace to keep your balance. The monk, however, moves steadily ahead, his bare feet brushing against sharp rocks and uneven earth as though they were smooth silk. You notice the soles of his feet calloused and rough from years of walking barefoot, and yet there's no sign of pain in his face, only a quiet contentment with each step. "Your feet are strong," you remark softly. He glances back with a faint smile. "They have learned to be soft." You furrow your brow, soft. He pauses and rests one foot lightly on a stone. "Strength is not hardness," he says. A rigid branch snaps in the storm, but grass bends and rises again. Zen masters might ask, what would happen if you walked through life with soft strength instead of stiff resistance? He gestures for you to sit on a flat rock nearby. As you lower yourself, you feel the warmth of the stone beneath you, still holding the sun's touch from earlier in the day. The monk sits across from you and lifts one foot, turning it so you can see the worn texture of his skin. "These calluses were not born from force," he says. "They came from gentle persistence, step by step, path after path." The earth taught my feet how to yield without breaking. A breeze stirs, carrying the faint scent of wildflowers from the nearby hills. The Buddha spoke of the middle way, the monk continues. Not indulgence, not denial, just walking steadily forward with balance and care. You watch as he places his foot back on the ground, his toes curling slightly into the dirt. Try this, he says. With each breath, imagine walking gently across your life. Feel the ground rise to meet you. Let it support you, not challenge you. You close your eyes. Inhale, the air fills your lungs like a quiet river. Exhale. You picture yourself stepping softly, not forcing your way forward, but moving with the earth beneath you. As you breathe, you notice a subtle shift. The usual tightness in your chest loosens. Your shoulders lower. Your jaw unclenches. When you open your eyes, the monk is gazing at you calmly. You felt it, didn't you? He asks. You nod. To walk softly is not to walk timidly, he says. It is to meet the world with ease, even on its roughest paths. He rises, his robe catching in the evening breeze. Come, he says. The day is nearly done. One more step and we may find gratitude waiting for us. As you stand and follow, you glance at the monk's bare feet pressing into the earth. And for the first time, you wonder if true strength comes not from shielding yourself against life's roughness, but from meeting it gently, one mindful step at a time. The gift of gratitude. Seeing blessings everywhere. You learn to recognize blessings in the smallest details of daily life. The last light of day spreads across the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber, rose, and violet as you follow the monk down a narrow trail. The breeze carries the earthy scent of fallen leaves and wildflowers, and somewhere nearby, a cricket begins its soft evening song. The monk stops near a small wooden bridge that crosses a trickling stream. He leans lightly against the handrail, his worn sandals resting beside him on the planks. He looks down at the flowing water for a long moment before speaking. Gratitude, he says softly, is a gift you can open again and again. But most people leave it unopened, waiting for a perfect reason to feel thankful. You step onto the bridge and stand beside him, listening to the sound of the stream slipping gently over smooth stones. Zen masters might ask, what would your life feel like if you stopped waiting for blessings and started noticing the ones already here? The monk lifts his hand and gestures to the scene around you. Look, he says. The sound of water, the smell of the evening air, the warmth still clinging to the wood beneath your feet. Small gifts, ordinary miracles. You breathe in deeply, letting the cool air fill your chest. The Buddha taught that gratitude is not a reaction. The monk continues. It is a way of seeing. When the heart opens, every step, every breath becomes a blessing. You lower your gaze to the stream below. Its water moves tirelessly, carrying with it leaves, twigs, and fragments of sky reflected on its surface. Try this, the monk says. As you breathe in, whisper silently, I receive. As you breathe out, whisper thank you. You close your eyes and begin. Inhale, I receive. The sound of the stream, the scent of pine, the cool evening air. Exhale, thank you. At first it feels strange. But as you repeat the words, they soften into something natural, like the rhythm of your breath itself. I receive, thank you. A warmth begins to bloom in your chest. Not sharp, not overwhelming, just steady and calm. When you open your eyes again, the monk is smiling faintly. You see, he murmurs, gratitude does not need more. It only needs noticing. He lifts his worn sandals and places them carefully on his feet. These sandals, he says, glancing down, have carried me through rain and sun, over smooth roads and sharp stones, and for every step I'm thankful. The wind stirs, rustling the tall grasses along the stream's edge. Perhaps gratitude is not found in what we hold, the monk whispers. Perhaps it is found in what holds us. You feel the truth of his words settle into you like a pebble sinking gently to the bottom of a still pond. For a long moment, neither of you speaks. You simply stand there on the bridge, the sound of water flowing beneath you, the weight of the day falling away. And for the first time, gratitude doesn't feel like something you must reach for. It feels like something that has been carrying you all along. The sandals left behind, a legacy of peace. At journey's end, the monk leaves his sandals behind as a final silent teaching. The trail winds higher as twilight deepens. Stars begin to bloom in the indigo sky, faint at first, then brighter, as the last light of day slips away. You follow the monk along a narrow ridge. His pace is steady, though his worn sandals catch now and then on roots and stones. Still he moves as though the earth itself is guiding his feet. At the top of the ridge stands a simple wooden gate, weathered by countless seasons of sun and rain. Beyond it, the path disappears into a grove of towering cedars. The monk stops at the gate and looks back at you. His face, illuminated by the pale glow of starlight, is calm, but carries a weight you can't quite name. He kneels down and slowly unties the frayed straps of his sandals. Lifting them carefully, he sets them side by side at the base of the gate. Here, he says softly, is where they rest. You watch in silence as he straightens now, barefoot on the cool earth. "These sandals have carried me far," he murmurs. "Through mountain paths, village streets, temple courtyards. But they were never meant to come with me forever." Zen masters might ask, "What are you still carrying that you could set down right here?" He steps forward into the grove, his bare feet sinking lightly into the soft moss. Sometimes, he says, his voice almost a whisper, the greatest act of gratitude is to leave something behind so that others may walk freely too. You stand still, gazing at the sandals resting by the gate. Their cracked leather and worn soles seem to hold the echo of 1,000 journeys. You feel an ache in your chest, not of sadness, but of deep stillness, like water settling after a stone has been dropped. The monk turns back once his face softened by a faint smile. The Buddha taught that letting go is not loss, he says. It is the final gift we give to life. Then he disappears into the grove, his figure swallowed by shadows and stars. You take a slow breath, feeling the cool air flow through you. For the first time, you realize the weight you've been carrying, not in your hands, but in your heart. And for the first time, you imagine setting it down. Not because it is broken, not because you are broken, but because you too are ready to walk barefoot into the quiet of your own life. You look once more at the sandals by the gate, and then you step forward. The night is still now, the grove ahead dark and comforting, like a soft blanket. You pause and take a deep breath, feeling the coolness of the air sink into your lungs, spreading calm with each inhale. Imagine standing barefoot on the earth, sensing its quiet strength beneath you. With every exhale, let the weight you've carried, your worries, your expectations, your striving flow downward, dissolving into the soil. You don't need to hold them anymore. As you stand here, feel the simplicity of this moment. The breeze brushes your skin. A single star twinkles overhead. Somewhere in the distance, the sound of water trickles softly over stones. What would happen if you lived each breath like this? Grateful, aware, unburdened. The monk's words echo gently in your mind. Gratitude is not about holding on. It is about seeing clearly what has always been here. Let your breath slow even more now. Inhale deeply and feel space open within you. Exhale slowly, letting tension melt like snow under the sun. There is no need to do anything. No need to go anywhere. You are already home, and home is enough. Zen Stories for Sleep Vertical Bar. The Empty Teacup, Learning to Receive Without Clinging. The Invitation. Entering the Quiet Tea House. You're welcomed into a serene tea house where a lesson in emptiness begins. Hey guys, tonight we're going to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. If your mind's been racing all day, these tales might gently pull you back to the stillness waiting within. Imagine stepping into a quiet tea house tucked among the misty hills where even the sound of pouring tea carries a lesson about letting go and learning to receive without clinging. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while we settle in, I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from, and what time is it right now? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk along a narrow path lined with stepping stones, each one damp with dew and faintly glistening under the soft morning light. The air smells of wet earth and blooming jasmine, and the sound of your sandals against the stones blends with the faint rustling of bamboo leaves overhead. At the end of the path stands a small tea house, its wooden frame weathered but strong. A paper lantern sways gently at the entrance, its glow pale and inviting. An old monk waits at the doorway, his robe the color of warm clay, his hands folded lightly in front of him. He smiles as you approach his face, creased with lines that speak of years spent in quiet contemplation. "Welcome," he says softly. "You've come just in time for tea." You bow slightly and step inside. The tea house is simple. A low wooden table, 2 cushions, and a single clay teapot resting on a tray. A small window lets in a shaft of sunlight, catching tiny motes of dust that dance lazily in the still air. The monk gestures for you to sit across from him. You lower yourself onto the cushion, feeling the cool smoothness of the woven mat beneath your fingers. For many, tea is only a drink. The monk begins, his voice calm and steady. But for us, it is a way of seeing. He lifts the teapot and slowly fills a cup in front of him. The sound of the liquid pouring is soft, almost musical, as steam curls gently upward. "An empty cup can hold much," he says, placing the teapot back on the tray. "But a full cup, what can it receive?" You glance at the cup before you noticing the pale reflection of light rippling across its surface. Zen masters might ask, if your mind is already full of thoughts, of worries, of judgments, how can wisdom pour in? The monk leans forward slightly, resting his hands on his knees. "In Zen we begin by emptying," he says softly. "Not the teacup alone, but the heart, the mind, the hands that grasp too tightly." You feel your shoulders loosen slightly, as though the very air in the tea house invites you to set something down. "Try this," the monk suggests. "Place your hands together and imagine all you've been holding, your thoughts, your plans, your fears, resting in your palms. Now, gently open your hands." You do as he says. At first, nothing changes. But as your fingers unfold, you notice a faint release, not in your palms, but somewhere deeper in the space behind your ribs, where your breath seems to soften. The monk nods, as if sensing the shift. "Good," he whispers. "An open hand can receive. A clenched one cannot." You sit together in silence for a while. The only sound is the faint crackle of the teapot cooling and the soft breeze sighing through the bamboo outside. And for the first time in a long while, you feel no need to grasp anything, not even this moment. It is enough to simply be here. The overflowing cup. When fullness blocks wisdom. A monk demonstrates how a full cup cannot hold anything more. The monk lifts the teapot once again, his movements slow and deliberate, like a dancer who has practiced these gestures for years. Steam rises gently from the spout as he pours tea into your cup. You watch the amber liquid swirl and settle, the surface trembling as the last drops fall. But instead of stopping, the monk keeps pouring. The tea spills over the rim, trickling down the sides of the cup, spreading in a small pool across the wooden tray. "Why are you still pouring?" you ask, softly, startled by the waste. The monk sets the teapot down and looks at you with calm eyes. "Because this is what happens when a cup is already full." You glance at the tea dripping steadily onto the tray. "If the cup cannot hold more," he says gently, "then no matter how precious the tea, it spills away wasted." Zen masters might ask, if your mind is as full as this cup, overflowing with noise, clinging to plans and opinions, where is the room for wisdom to enter? The monk takes a small cloth and wipes the tray clean. His movements are unhurried, even tender. "Many people come to me seeking peace," he says. "But they arrive carrying too much desires, fears, memories. Their hands are too full to receive anything new." He holds up the empty teapot, tilting it slightly so that not a single drop falls. This too is a teaching. Even the teapot must be emptied before it can be filled again. You look down at your own hands resting in your lap, noticing how tightly your fingers are curled. Without thinking, you loosen them slightly, feeling the tension slip away. The monk smiles faintly. "Try this," he says. "Close your eyes and imagine your mind as a teacup. See it filling with thoughts, worries, plans, regrets. Watch it spill over. And now, tip the cup gently. Let it empty." You close your eyes and picture the scene. At first, the cup feels crowded, every thought pressing for space. But as you imagine tipping it, something strange happens. The noise begins to pour out one drop at a time. Soon the cup is empty. And in that emptiness, you feel light. You open your eyes slowly. "You felt it, didn't you?" the monk asks softly. You nod. "To empty the cup is not to lose," he says. "It is to make space for what truly nourishes." Outside, the bamboo leaves rustle faintly in the breeze. A single bird sings in the distance, its voice clear and sweet. The monk refills your cup, but this time only halfway. He sets the teapot down and folds his hands in his lap. "Enough is as good as a feast," he murmurs. You lift the cup and feel its warmth spread into your palms. For the first time, you wonder how much of your life has been spent trying to fill the cup to the brim, never realizing that it was already overflowing, and that peace might come not from adding more, but from gently pouring some away. The pause before pouring, making space within you. You explore the stillness that comes before receiving, and the value of waiting. You sit quietly, the half-filled teacup warm between your palms. The monk doesn't speak, and for a while, neither do you. Outside the tea house, a breeze rustles the bamboo, their long leaves whispering like an ancient song. The monk finally breaks the silence, his voice low and steady. Most people believe they must always be pouring more into their days, their minds, their lives. But in Zen, we pause before we pour. He gestures to the teapot resting on the tray. Steam no longer rises from its spout. The water inside has settled still and quiet. If you rush to fill the cup without noticing, you spill more than you serve. But if you wait, even the act of pouring becomes a meditation. Zen masters might ask, when was the last time you allowed stillness before action? The monk picks up the teapot and holds it in his hands, but he doesn't pour. He waits. The silence stretches, but it doesn't feel empty. Instead, it feels full. Full of the hum of life, the sound of your own breath, the faint crackle of the tea house walls, adjusting in the cool air, the rhythm of your heartbeat in your chest. You see, the monk says softly, when we pause, we create space. And in that space, we receive not just tea, but the moment itself. He looks at you, his gaze calm but penetrating. You've been carrying many things, he says. Plans, worries, questions. You've been pouring so much into your life that there's no room left for the present. You feel a tightness in your chest as his words sink in. Try this, he continues. As you sit here, imagine holding the teacup beneath the spout. Don't pour yet. Simply hold the empty cup. Feel its weight, its shape. Notice how it is ready to receive without asking for more. You close your eyes. In your mind, you see the small clay cup in your hands. You feel its cool surface, its hollow space within. You resist the urge to tilt the teapot and pour. Instead, you let the stillness grow. At first, it feels strange. Your mind wants to act, to fill, to do something. But as you sit with the emptiness, you notice a subtle shift. The cup doesn't demand. It doesn't grasp. It simply waits. And in that waiting, you feel a quiet readiness. You open your eyes and meet the monk's calm gaze. "You felt it, didn't you?" he asks. You nod. "An empty cup does not need to cling," he says. "It trusts that when the time is right, it will be filled." The monk pours a small stream of tea into your cup. This time, he stops halfway, sets down the teapot, and folds his hands. "Enough," he whispers. You lift the cup slowly, watching the steam curl upward like a delicate dance. For the first time, you realize the pause before receiving is as sacred as the receiving itself. The first sip, receiving fully without clutching. A mindful sip of tea reveals how to receive without grasping. The monk gestures for you to lift your cup. You hold it carefully with both hands, feeling its warmth seep into your palms. The steam rises in delicate spirals, carrying a faint, earthy scent, subtle yet comforting. "Now," the monk says softly, "drink as if this is the first and last sip you will ever take." You bring the cup closer to your lips, but hesitate. "Do not rush," he adds gently. Notice the aroma. Feel the clay's texture beneath your fingertips. Let your senses awaken to this moment. Zen masters might ask, if you can't be present with one sip of tea, how will you ever be present with your life? You inhale slowly. The tea's scent fills your nose, and already you sense a shift. Your thoughts grow quieter, your breath steadier. Most people, the monk murmurs, drink their tea as they live their lives, swallowing quickly, already thinking of what comes next. But Zen invites us to taste fully, without clinging, without rushing. You tilt the cup and let a small sip touch your lips. The tea flows across your tongue. Warm, delicate, and layered. There's a faint sweetness at first, then a subtle bitterness that lingers softly, like the memory of a summer evening. You hold the tea in your mouth for a moment, noticing its texture, its warmth, its quiet presence. Then you swallow. And for a breathless instant, there is nothing but the aftertaste spreading gently through your chest. The monk watches you closely. "You see," he whispers, "to receive fully, you must release fully. Hold the sip lightly, then let it go." You lower the cup slightly, feeling its weight shift in your hands. How often, the monk continues, do we clutch at life, at joy, at beauty, at love, trying to make it stay, but like tea, life must flow freely. It is not ours to keep. Outside, the wind stirs the bamboo leaves, their soft rustling blending with the faint crackle of the tea house walls. Try this, the monk suggests. As you breathe in, receive the moment fully. As you breathe out, release it completely. Do not cling. Do not resist. Let it flow. You close your eyes and breathe. Inhale the warmth of the tea, the sound of the breeze, the monk's steady presence. Exhale, letting it all drift gently away. Again, inhale, exhale. You notice something unexpected. Each breath feels full, even as it leaves you. The monk smiles faintly. The Buddha taught that clinging leads to suffering, he says. But an open hand can receive endlessly. You lift the cup again and take another sip slowly, lightly, fully. And for the first time, you understand, receiving is not about holding on. It's about being present as life passes through you. The empty teacup. A symbol of openness, the monk teaches how emptiness allows life to pour in naturally. The monk sets his own teacup down on the tray, turning it slowly so that the rim catches the golden light streaming through the small paper window. An empty teacup is not useless, he says softly. It is ready. You glance at your own cup now, nearly empty, except for a faint sheen of liquid clinging to the bottom. Most people fear emptiness, the monk continues. They fill their days with noise, their homes with possessions, their minds with endless thoughts, believing that to be empty is to lack. He traces a finger gently around the rim of his cup. But in Zen, we see emptiness differently. It is not lack, it is openness. A vessel that clings to nothing is free to receive everything. Zen masters might ask, if you were like this teacup empty open, what blessings might life pour into you? The monk lifts the teapot again and tilts it over his own cup. Nothing pours out. Even the finest teapot, he says, must be refilled. And it can only be refilled because it is first emptied. You feel a faint knot loosen in your chest as his words settle into you. How much have I tried to hold on to you, murmur, without meaning to? The monk smiles. Enough to weigh your spirit? He picks up the teacup and holds it to the light, showing you its hollow interior. Try this, he suggests. Close your eyes and picture yourself as this cup. Imagine pouring out all you have been clutching, regrets, fears, even your own self-image. Watch them flow out until only spaciousness remains. You close your eyes. At first it feels strange to let go, even in your imagination, but slowly you picture your burdens spilling over the rim like tea returning to the earth. The cup within you feels lighter, freer, open. When you open your eyes, the monk is watching you with quiet approval. You see, he whispers. In emptiness, there is room for the entire sky. The breeze outside carries the scent of jasmine and damp earth. A bird calls softly, its song rising and falling like a lullaby. An empty cup does not cling to the tea, the monk says. It simply receives, then releases. This is the way of peace. You look down at your cup now, dry and cool in your hands. And for the first time, emptiness does not feel lonely. It feels like a quiet invitation. The reflection in tea, seeing without holding on. A moment of quiet reflection shows how clinging clouds clarity. The monk pours a fresh stream of tea into your cup. This time, he fills it only a third of the way, then sets the teapot aside. The steam rises gently, swirling in slow, delicate patterns. Look into your tea, he says softly. What do you see? You peer into the cup. The amber surface shimmers faintly, disturbed by the faintest ripples of heat. At first, all you notice is your own faint reflection, soft, blurred, almost dreamlike. I see, myself, you say quietly. The monk nods. Yes, but do you see clearly? You tilt the cup slightly and the surface trembles. Your reflection wavers and breaks apart, dissolving into light and shadow. No, you admit, it's cloudy. He smiles faintly. Most people live like this. Tea stirred, unsettled, never still. Their thoughts churn the surface of their mind until they cannot see clearly. Zen masters might ask, if you let the waters settle, what truths would rise into view? The monk leans back slightly, folding his hands in his lap. To see clearly, one must stop grasping, he says. When you cling to thoughts, to judgments, even to moments of joy, you disturb the calmness of your being. He gestures to the tea in your hands. Try this. Hold the cup without tightening your fingers. Breathe slowly and let the tea rest. Do not seek clarity. Simply allow it to arrive. You obey, loosening your grip on the cup. Your breath slows. You notice the heat of the clay against your palms, the faint scent rising from the tea, the soft hush of the breeze outside. And then something shifts. The surface of the tea grows still. Your reflection settles, no longer broken. You see yourself clearly, not as a collection of thoughts and worries, but as a quiet presence, whole and untroubled. The monk's voice is a whisper now. The Buddha taught that clinging clouds the mind like stirred water. Release your grip, and the water clears on its own. He reaches forward and taps the rim of your cup gently. You see, he says, when you stop grasping, the tea holds you as much as you hold it. The wind stirs the bamboo outside, and a single leaf drifts lazily past the window. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the cup's warmth, sensing the stillness within. And for the first time, you wonder if clarity was never something to chase, but something that was waiting beneath all along. The gift of letting go, giving back to receive more. You discover how gratitude and release deepen your ability to receive. The monk lifts his own teacup and cradles it lightly in his palms, as though holding something precious yet fragile. The light of the setting sun filters through the paper window, painting the walls in hues of gold and amber. Do you know what happens? He asks softly when we try to keep tea from leaving the cup. You shake your head. He tilts his cup slightly, letting a single drop fall back into the teapot. We lose both the tea and the cup. You watch the drop dissolve soundlessly into the pot, vanishing as though it had never existed. Zen masters might ask, what would happen if you allowed what you love to flow freely instead of clinging? The monk continues, his voice calm, almost like a lullaby. Most people hold tightly to what they value: joy, love, peace, trying to preserve them forever. But life flows like tea. The tighter your grasp, the quicker it slips through your fingers. He sets his cup gently on the tray and folds his hands in his lap. To give back is to make space for receiving. The Buddha taught that gratitude is not a transaction, it is a way of breathing. Inhale to receive, exhale to release. You glance down at your own cup, still warm in your hands. You realize how many times you've tried to keep happiness clutching at it until it slipped away. Try this, the monk suggests. As you breathe in silently, say, I am grateful. As you breathe out silently, say, I let go. You close your eyes. Inhale. I am grateful. You feel the warmth of the tea, the softness of the air, the steady rhythm of your heart. Exhale, I let go. The tension in your shoulders loosens. The restless thoughts drift away like leaves on water. Again, inhale, exhale. With each breath, you feel lighter. The monk smiles faintly. You see, he whispers, gratitude and release are two hands of the same gesture. To open one, you must open the other. Outside, a bird calls softly, and a breeze stirs the bamboo, their slender stalks swaying with graceful ease. Life does not ask you to hold on forever, the monk says. It asks only that you savor, and when the time comes, let go. You take another sip of tea. This time it feels richer, not because it has changed, but because your hands no longer cling. And for the first time, you sense that receiving is not about keeping. It is about meeting each moment with open hands and letting it pass as gently as it came. The teacup returned, walking away with light hands. Leaving the tea house, you feel the peace of carrying nothing but presence. The monk rises slowly, gathering the teapot and cups with practiced ease. He moves quietly, his robe brushing against the wooden floor with a sound softer than a whisper. You sit still, the empty cup warm in your palms. You notice how light it feels now, its weight so subtle that you barely notice it at all. An empty cup, the monk says softly, carries nothing, yet it is ready to hold the entire ocean. He sets the teapot aside and folds his hands behind his back. Most people leave with their hands full, clutching at wisdom, trying to make it stay. But Zen asks, what if you leave with nothing? Zen masters might ask, if you carry nothing, are you truly empty or finally full? You glance down at your own hands, now resting lightly on your knees. For the first time, They feel unburdened, not just of objects, but of all the invisible things you've been holding on to. Expectations, fears, even the need to get it right. Try this, the monk suggests. As you stand, imagine leaving behind all you've gathered here. Let the tea, the words "even this moment," dissolve like steam rising into the evening air. You close your eyes. In your mind, you picture setting the empty cup on the tray, bowing your head in gratitude, and stepping barefoot into the quiet night. You feel no need to take anything with you, not even the lessons. Somehow you trust they'll rise again when you need them, like spring water filling a well. When you open your eyes, the monk is standing by the doorway, gazing out into the garden. Fireflies drift lazily among the tall grasses, their faint glow pulsing in the dim light. He turns to you with a gentle smile. The tea is gone, the cup is empty, and yet... He pauses. You are full, aren't you? You nod. Good, he says. Now walk gently into your life. Receive what comes, release what goes, and let your hands remain open. As you step through the doorway, the cool night air greets your skin like a soft caress. The bamboo sways in the breeze, their leaves rustling like a quiet applause. You take a slow breath, the kind that fills your chest and empties it completely, leaving you light as air. And for the first time, you feel no need to cling. The teacup is empty, and that is enough. The night deepens around you, the air cool and still. A faint breeze brushes your cheeks, carrying with it the scent of earth and distant blossoms. You pause on the garden path, your breath slowing, your body softening with every inhale and exhale. Imagine your hands open, free of everything you've been holding. Feel how light they are now, how ready they are to receive whatever comes next, without clinging, without resistance. Inhale deeply, letting the calm fill you. Exhale slowly, releasing all that no longer serves you. The monk's words echo gently in your mind. An empty cup does not lack. It is ready. And so are you. Each breath becomes easier now, like waves lapping softly on a quiet shore. Your thoughts drift like clouds, in a wide-open skylight passing, leaving space behind them. As you settle into stillness, notice how even in the emptiness, there is fullness, the fullness of peace, of presence, of simply being here. There's nothing to do, nothing to hold, nothing to fix. You are enough. And in this moment, that is everything. Buddhist teachings. For relaxation, vertical bar. The bamboo forest, whisper lessons in inner strength. Section 1. The path to the bamboo grove. Entering stillness. You walk into a tranquil bamboo forest where a monk awaits with gentle teachings. Hey guys, tonight we're going to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. If your mind's been racing all day, these tales might gently pull you back to the stillness waiting within. Imagine walking barefoot on a quiet forest path, the air rich with the scent of rain and earth, and hearing the soft whispers of bamboo leaves teaching you how to be strong without forcing anything. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know, where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it where you are? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk slowly along a narrow path winding through a lush bamboo forest. The tall stalks rise on either side of you, swaying gently with the evening breeze. They creak faintly as they move, their sound almost like soft whispers, sharing secrets with the wind. The air is cool and fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth and green shoots. Sunlight filters through the canopy above, casting dappled patterns on the ground that shift and sway as the bamboo moves. Ahead, an old monk in a simple brown robe waits at the edge of a small clearing. He stands perfectly still, as if rooted like the bamboo around him, yet there's a sense of lightness in his posture as though he could drift away with the next gust of wind. "Ah," he says softly as you approach. "You've come to listen." You nod, though you're not yet sure what you've come to hear. "Come," he beckons, leading you deeper into the grove. The two of you walk in silence for a while. Your footsteps are muffled by a soft bed of fallen leaves. Overhead, the bamboo leaves rustle with each breath of air, a sound like water flowing gently in a stream. The monk stops beneath a particularly tall stalk that bends low as if bowing in greeting. "Do you hear them?" he asks quietly. You pause, listening. "Yes," you whisper. "They sound alive." The monk smiles faintly. "Bamboo teaches us without words," he says. It bends but does not break. It stands tall yet remains hollow inside. It moves with the wind, but never resists its flow. This is the way of true strength. Zen masters might ask, what if strength isn't about standing rigid, but about yielding and returning again and again? The monk gestures for you to sit on a flat stone nearby. You lower yourself gently, feeling the cool surface beneath you. The breeze stirs once more, and the bamboo leaves tremble, their soft chorus rising and falling like the breath of the forest itself. "Try this," the monk suggests. "Close your eyes and listen, not for meaning, but for presence. Let the sound of the bamboo fill you like air filling a hollow stalk." You close your eyes. At first, your thoughts scatter like restless birds. But then slowly, the sound of the leaves begins to weave through you, quieting the noise in your mind. You breathe in deeply, the scent of earth, the touch of the wind, and exhale, feeling your body soften. For a moment, there's nothing but the rustling of the bamboo and the steady rhythm of your own breath. The monk's voice returns soft and steady. "You see," he whispers, "strength does not come from resisting the wind. It comes from learning how to sway." You open your eyes, and for the first time, you feel it not as a thought, but as a quiet truth settling deep within you. Perhaps to stand tall, you don't need to be rigid. Perhaps you only need to be rooted and willing to move. The swaying stalks. Flexibility as true strength. The monk shows how bamboo bends in storms, yet never breaks, revealing resilience. The breeze picks up slightly and the bamboo around you sways in unison. The tall green stalks creak and sigh, their movements graceful, yet strong like dancers who have practiced the same rhythm for centuries. You watch as the stalks bend deeply under the wind's pressure, their slender bodies curving low almost to the ground. And yet, they never break. The monk notices your gaze and smiles faintly. "See how they bow," he says softly. "No matter how fierce the wind becomes, the bamboo yields. It moves with the current, not against it. And when the wind passes, it stands tall once again." He rests a hand lightly on one of the stalks. It bends under his touch, but doesn't snap. People often think strength means being hard, unbending, the monk continues. But in truth, rigidity is fragile. It shatters under stress. Bamboo teaches us that true resilience lies in flexibility. Zen masters might ask, what would happen if instead of resisting life's storms, you learn to sway and return? You take a slow breath, the cool air filling your chest. For a moment, you picture yourself as a bamboo stalk, roots deep in the earth, body light and hollow, able to bend without fear. Try this, the monk suggests. As you inhale, imagine the wind entering your body. As you exhale, imagine yourself yielding not in weakness, but in trust. Let the wind pass through you and notice how you rise again. You close your eyes. Inhale, your chest expands like a sail catching the breeze. Exhale. You feel the tension in your shoulders, soften your spine, gently swaying, as if moved by an invisible current. Again, inhale, exhale. Each breath feels like a wave, and with every cycle you sense a growing lightness, not a brittle lightness, but a strong, rooted calm. The monk's voice is low now, almost blending with the sound of the leaves. The Buddha taught that clinging leads to suffering, he says. But clinging is not only to objects or people, it is also to ideas of how life should be. When we loosen our grip, we find that we do not break so easily. You open your eyes and look up at the bamboo canopy overhead. Sunlight filters through the leaves, casting a soft, dappled glow that shifts with every movement of the wind. The monk steps aside, and you watch as his robe sways gently around his ankles, mimicking the bamboo's graceful bow. Strength is not in defying the wind, he murmurs. It is in learning to dance with it. You stand with him in the clearing, listening as the forest exhales around you. And for the first time, you feel it deep within strength that isn't hard or sharp, but soft, fluid, and unshakable. The hollow core, the power of inner space. You learn how emptiness within creates strength and allows peace to flow freely. You follow the monk deeper into the grove, where the bamboo grows thicker and taller, their emerald stalks rising like pillars of a living cathedral. The air feels cooler here, shaded and still carrying the faint, earthy scent of moss and rain-soaked leaves. The monk stops beside one of the tallest stalks and rests his hand lightly on its smooth surface. He knocks gently with his knuckles, and the sound echoes a soft, hollow tone that hums in the quiet. "Do you hear that?" he asks. You listen closely. The sound is light and airy, almost like a drum softly struck in the distance. "Yes," you reply, "it's empty." The monk smiles faintly, and that is its secret. He turns to face you fully, his gaze calm but piercing. The bamboo is strong, not because it is filled, but because it is hollow. Its emptiness allows it to bend without breaking, to sway without shattering. Zen masters might ask, what if your strength too came not from what you hold, but from what you release? The monk gestures for you to sit on the ground beside him. You lower yourself slowly, feeling the coolness of the earth beneath you, the faint crunch of fallen leaves under your fingers. "People fill their minds as they fill their homes," he says softly, "with thoughts, plans, memories, desires. They believe that to be full is to be safe, but fullness is heavy. It leaves no room for the unexpected breeze." He lifts his hand and cups it loosely in the air. "To be hollow," he continues, "is not to be empty in despair. It is to be open, ready to receive, ready to adapt." You close your eyes as his words settle in. "Try this," the monk suggests. "Imagine yourself as a bamboo stalk. Feel your feet rooting deep into the earth. Feel your body tall and light. Picture your core as spacious, hollow, free. You breathe in slowly, feeling your spine elongate as though pulled upward by a gentle hand. Exhale. You picture the space within you, widening, not cold or lonely, but quiet, expansive, filled with the hum of life. As you sit, the sounds of the forest surround you, a soft breeze stirring the leaves, a distant bird calling, the faint creak of bamboo swaying above. The Buddha taught the monks as gently that a mind uncluttered by clinging is like still water, able to reflect the whole sky. You inhale again, and this time, your breath feels different, not heavy, not strained, but effortless, as if the air flows through you like wind through the bamboo. The monk places his hand on the bamboo stalk once more and gives it a slight push. The entire column sways gracefully, then returns to stillness. "You see," he murmurs, "its power lies not in resistance, but in openness." You open your eyes and gaze upward. The towering stalks seem to breathe with you, their hollow cores catching the whispering wind and turning it into a song. And for the first time, you realize that emptiness isn't weakness. It is strength in its most peaceful form. The whispering leaves, Listening to subtle wisdom, the sound of bamboo leaves in the wind carries lessons about stillness and awareness. The monk rises slowly and gestures for you to follow him. You walk together along a narrow footpath that winds deeper into the bamboo forest, where the air feels even cooler and more alive. The stalks grow so close now that they create a canopy overhead, their leaves swaying gently in the breeze. As the wind stirs, a chorus of whispers rises around you, the soft sound of countless leaves brushing against each other like 1,000 tiny voices speaking at once. The monk stops and tilts his head, listening. "Do you hear them?" he asks quietly. You pause and listen. At first, it's just noise, a faint rustling like paper being crumpled far away. But as you focus, the sound deepens. It's layered, sometimes soft and delicate, sometimes rich and full like a river flowing overhead. "Yes," you whisper. "It sounds like they're speaking." The monk smiles faintly. "They are," he says, "but not with words. The bamboo speaks the language of stillness." Zen masters might ask, when was the last time you truly listened, not to respond, not to control, but simply to hear? The monk settles onto a smooth rock and gestures for you to join him. You sit carefully, feeling the coolness of the stone beneath you and the faint vibration of the wind passing through the forest. "People often listen only with their ears," the monk says softly. "But the heart can listen too, if it becomes quiet enough." He closes his eyes and breathes slowly, his posture as relaxed as a reed swaying in the current. "Try this," he suggests. "Close your eyes. Listen not only to the sound of the leaves, but also to the silence between them. Let the spaces speak to you." You close your eyes and inhale deeply. At first, your mind races trying to categorize each sound, the creak of bamboo, the faint buzz of an insect, the distant call of a bird. But then, slowly, something shifts. You begin to notice the spaces between sounds, the pauses where the forest seems to hold its breath. Those spaces feel alive, as if they're humming with invisible energy. Your own breath slows, your body feels lighter, your thoughts quieter. The monk's voice breaks the stillness, low and steady. The Buddha taught that wisdom comes not from filling the mind, but from emptying it, so that we may hear what cannot be said aloud. You open your eyes and find the monk watching you with calm, knowing eyes. "You heard it, didn't you?" he asks gently. You nod. "Good," he whispers. "The bamboo does not resist the wind. It does not cling to its leaves. It listens, and in listening, it learns to endure." You glance upward at the forest canopy. The bamboo leaves sway gently, their whispers soft but full of meaning. And for the first time, you realize that wisdom isn't always something to grasp. Sometimes it's something to receive, like the sound of leaves carried on the breeze. The deep roots. Stability beneath softness. The monk teaches that unseen roots support gentle growth and enduring strength. The monk rises from the smooth rock with slow, deliberate movements, as though he too is swaying with the rhythm of the bamboo. He gestures for you to follow, and together you walk deeper into the forest. The path narrows, and you notice how the ground beneath your feet changes. It's no longer soft with fallen leaves, but firm and steady, as if something beneath the surface is holding it all together. The monk stops near a cluster of thick bamboo stalks. He kneels and presses his palm flat against the earth. "Here," he says softly, "beneath us lies the true strength of the bamboo." You kneel beside him, curious. It's easy to admire the tall stalks, the graceful sway. He continues. But few notice the roots. Hidden beneath the soil, they weave together, forming a network so strong that even the fiercest storm cannot tear them apart. Zen masters might ask, what unseen roots in your own life give you strength even when you forget they are there? The monk runs his fingers lightly through the soil. People often seek strength in what is visible: muscle, achievement, reputation. But real strength is quiet, hidden like these roots. It supports us even when we cannot see it. You close your eyes for a moment and picture roots spreading deep into the earth, connecting you to something larger than yourself. Family, teachers, friendships, moments of stillness. Try this, the monk says. As you inhale, imagine roots growing from your feet into the earth. With each exhale, feel the stability they bring, the quiet support holding you upright. You breathe deeply. Inhale, the air fills your chest, and in your mind's eye, roots stretch downward, intertwining with the forest floor. Exhale, your shoulders loosen, and a gentle warmth spreads through your body, as though the earth itself is lending you its calm. The monk places a hand lightly on your shoulder. The Buddha taught that we are not separate from the world, he says. We are like bamboo, each stalk supported by others, each rooted in the same earth. You open your eyes and glance upward. The bamboo sways above its slender trunks, rising confidently, yet you know now that their power lies hidden below, in the quiet embrace of the soil. You see, the monk whispers, softness above strength below. This is the way of enduring life's winds. The breeze stirs again, and the bamboo bows gracefully, their leaves brushing one another in a soft, soothing song. And for the first time, you feel it within yourself, not just a fragile calm, but a deep-rooted strength, steady and unshakable. The bamboo cup, receiving without resistance. A quiet tea ceremony in the grove offers insights on openness and gratitude. The monk leads you along a winding trail until you reach a small clearing where the bamboo opens to let sunlight spill across the forest floor. In the center of the clearing sits a low wooden table, weathered by time, with a simple clay teapot resting on it. Come, he says softly, lowering himself onto a cushion beside the table. You sit across from him, feeling the smooth grain of the wood beneath your fingers. The air is warmer here, carrying the faint scent of tea leaves and moss. The monk lifts a delicate bamboo cup from the table. Its surface is polished, but still shows the faint ridges of the stalk it was carved from. Bamboo holds water not because it grasps tightly, he says, turning the cup in his hands. It holds because it is open and hollow. Zen masters might ask, when you open your heart like this cup, what might life pour into you? The monk pours tea into the bamboo cup, the warm liquid swirling gently inside. He places it before you with a faint smile. Most people hold their lives like this, he says, clenching his fist tightly, afraid to spill, afraid to lose. But the tighter they hold, the more life slips away. He opens his hand slowly, palm facing upward. To receive, we must first release. You lift the cup with both hands. It feels light and smooth, its rounded edges cool against your skin. As you bring it closer, the soft steam brushes your face like a warm breath. Try this, the monk whispers. Hold the cup gently as if cradling a bird. As you drink, notice how the tea fills you, then leaves you. This is the cycle of giving and receiving. You take a slow sip. The tea flows across your tongue. Warm, earthy, with a faint sweetness that lingers for just a moment before fading. And as it fades, you notice something. You don't feel loss. You feel gratitude. The Buddha taught, the monk says, that gratitude does not come from keeping. It comes from allowing the tea to fill you, allowing it to leave, allowing the next moment to arrive. You set the cup down lightly and breathe deeply. For a moment you imagine your own life as a bamboo cup, not clutching, not empty, simply ready to hold whatever is poured into it. The monk smiles faintly as if he can sense your thoughts. You see, he says, strength is not about holding tightly. It is about trusting that the cup will be filled again. A breeze stirs the bamboo above, and sunlight dances across the table in shifting patterns. And for the first time you understand, openness is not weakness. It is the quiet power that allows life to flow through you, Again and again, the forest path. Walking softly, walking strong. You explore how gentle steps can leave a lasting, peaceful imprint on the world. The monk rises quietly from the table, his robe brushing against the wooden floor. He gestures for you to follow as he steps back into the bamboo grove. The path ahead is narrow, winding gently through the tall stalks. Sunlight filters through the canopy in soft beams, lighting your way like golden lanterns. As you walk, you notice how the monk moves. Each step is placed lightly, his sandals barely disturbing the leaves beneath him. His posture is upright, but relaxed, as though the earth itself is carrying him forward. Watch the ground as you walk, he says, softly glancing over his shoulder. See how each step touches the earth. You look down. The path is covered with a thin layer of fallen leaves and tiny sprouts of green. Where you step, the leaves shift slightly, leaving a faint imprint. Most people walk heavily, the monk continues. They push against the earth, leaving deep marks. But the bamboo teaches us another way. He stops and places his foot carefully on the ground, the movement so gentle that not a single leaf stirs. Strength, he says, is not in stomping forward. It is in moving softly so the earth remembers your presence with kindness. Zen masters might ask, if you left no heavy footprint behind, what would the world remember of you? You mimic the monk's steps, lifting and placing your feet gently. At first, it feels awkward. You're used to walking quickly with purpose, as if every step must drive you toward a goal. But as you slow, you notice something shift. The ground feels softer beneath you. Each step becomes an act of balance, of trust. Your breath grows calmer, your body lighter. Try this, the monk whispers. With each step, silently say, here now. Step, here now. Step, here now. Let the words remind you that there is nowhere else you need to be. You continue walking. Here now, step. The rustling of bamboo leaves surrounds you like a quiet chorus. A bird flits between stalks ahead, its wings catching a shaft of sunlight. Here now, step. The air feels rich with stillness, as though the forest itself is holding its breath, watching you walk. The Buddha taught, the monk says, that the path is not separate from the destination. Every step carries the whole journey. You glance down again. Your footprints are barely visible, the leaves falling back into place behind you. And for the first time you understand, to walk gently is to leave behind not disturbance, but peace. The monk stops and turns to face you. You see, he says softly, the strongest path is the one walked with light feet and an open heart. The wind sighs through the bamboo, and the leaves above you whisper in reply. And in that moment, you feel it not as an idea, but as a quiet knowing deep in your chest. True strength does not crush. It flows softly and endlessly like the wind through the forest. The bamboo's gift, becoming strong through surrender. At journey's end, you feel the forest's teaching to yield is to endure. The monk leads you to the edge of the bamboo forest, where the grove thins and the sky opens wide above. The air is cooler here, touched with the scent of damp earth and the sweetness of grass warmed by the fading sun. He pauses beneath a towering bamboo stalk, its slender body swaying gently in the evening breeze. This is where our path ends, he says softly, resting his hand against the smooth green surface of the stalk. You look around at the grove behind you, the way the bamboo leans into the wind, never resisting, never breaking. The bamboo has given us its teaching, the monk continues. It showed us how to bend, how to remain hollow, how to sway and endure. Zen masters might ask, what might happen if you stopped standing rigid against life and learned to move like bamboo? The monk sits down on a moss-covered stone and gestures for you to join him. You see, most people believe surrender is weakness, he says. They hold tightly to their plans, their fears, their identities, thinking that if they let go, they'll be lost. But bamboo teaches the opposite to yield, is to survive. He runs his fingers lightly across the moss at his feet. The strongest tree snaps in the storm because it resists the wind. The bamboo bends, and because it bends, it rises again when the storm passes. You breathe deeply, the cool evening air filling your chest. "Try this," the monk whispers. As you breathe in, imagine yourself standing tall like bamboo. As you breathe out, imagine letting go of all resistance, swaying gently, trusting the wind to pass. You close your eyes. Inhale, your spine feels long and supple. Exhale your shoulders, loosen your jaw, softens, and a quiet trust settles in your chest. The monk's voice continues like a soft breeze. The Buddha taught that clinging leads to suffering. But when we let go, even for a moment, we find there was nothing to fear. The wind does not wish to harm the bamboo, it only wishes to pass through. You open your eyes and watch as the bamboo above sways together in graceful unison. The bamboo does not cling to the earth, the monk says. And yet it is held firmly by its roots. It does not cling to the wind, and yet it dances with it. He rises slowly, brushing the moss from his robe. "You see," he says, "strength does not come from standing against the world. It comes from standing within it, soft, steady, and free." The sun dips low, painting the horizon in hues of rose and gold. The bamboo sways gently in the fading light, their leaves whispering secrets to the breeze. And for the first time, you feel it not just in your mind, but deep in your body. To be strong is not to resist. It is to surrender with trust and rise again. The bamboo grove grows quiet as night settles in. A cool breeze brushes your face, carrying the soft, sweet scent of leaves and earth. You close your eyes and feel the stillness around you. Inhale deeply. With each breath, imagine the roots of the bamboo reaching deep into the earth, steady and calm. Exhale slowly, letting your body soften like a stalk swaying in the evening wind. There is no need to hold tightly, no need to resist. The monk's voice echoes gently in your memory. To yield is not to fall, it is to endure. Imagine now that you are standing in the bamboo grove. Your feet rooted your body, light your heart open. The wind moves through you and you sway gently, trusting it will pass. In this moment, there is nothing to do, nothing to change. You are enough steady, strong, and deeply at peace. With each breath, let go a little more. Let the world flow around you like water around a stone. And as your breath slows, feel your worries drifting away like leaves carried on a quiet stream. Here in the stillness, you are whole. You are home. Zen Stories for Sleep Vertical Bar. The Fisherman's Lantern. Finding Peace by the River Section 1. The Lantern's Glow. Entering the riverbank's calm. You follow the glow of a fisherman's lantern and step into the stillness of the riverbank. Hey guys, tonight we're going to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. If your mind's been racing all day, these tales might gently pull you back to the stillness waiting within. Picture yourself walking along a quiet riverbank at dusk, guided only by the warm glow of a fisherman's lantern. Each step draws you closer to the sound of flowing water and the gentle wisdom it carries. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know, where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it, where you are? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The path is narrow, its surface softened by years of footprints and drifting leaves. You walk slowly, feeling the cool earth beneath your feet. The air is tinged with the scent of river moss and faint wood smoke. Ahead, a golden glow wavers gently in the darkness. It draws you forward like a quiet invitation. As you near, you see an old fisherman sitting cross-legged on a flat rock by the river's edge. Beside him, a small lantern flickers its flame steady despite the soft evening breeze. The river flows lazily past its surface, reflecting streaks of amber light and deep indigo from the fading sky. "Ah," the fisherman says without turning his head. "You've come to sit by the water." You pause, unsure if he's speaking to you or simply thinking aloud, but then he gestures softly to the space beside him. "Sit," he says. "The river has much to say tonight." You lower yourself onto the rock, feeling its cool surface beneath your hands. For a long moment, neither of you speaks. The only sounds are the soft hiss of the lantern's wick and the gentle murmur of water flowing over stones. The lantern burns steadily, the fisherman murmurs. But not because it fights the wind. It burns because it knows how to bow to it. Zen masters might ask, if you stopped fighting the currents of your life, what peace might rise in their place? The fisherman leans forward slightly, his eyes fixed on the river. People think peace is found by chasing it, he says. But like the river, it cannot be caught. It must be joined. You breathe deeply, letting the cool night air fill your lungs. The flame flickers again, and you notice how its light stretches across the rippling water, touching the far bank. "Try this," the fisherman whispers. As you breathe in, imagine the lantern's glow, warming your chest. As you breathe out, picture the river carrying your worries away. You close your eyes. Inhale the warmth of the lantern, seems to pool in your heart, soft and steady. Exhale the sound of water, carries your restless thoughts downstream, their edges softening until they disappear entirely. When you open your eyes, the fisherman is watching you with a faint smile. "You see," he says, "the river doesn't resist the stones. It flows around them. And in its flow, it wears even the hardest rocks smooth." The lantern crackles softly beside you. A faint breeze stirs the trees along the riverbank, and their leaves rustle like a whispered lullaby. And for the first time in a long while, you feel no urge to grasp the moment. It is enough to let it flow. Ripples in the water. Learning to watch without disturbance. A lesson unfolds as you observe how ripples form and fade naturally. The lantern's glow dances across the fisherman's weathered face as he leans closer to the river. His eyes are fixed on the surface, watching how the water moves in lazy ripples beneath the dim light. "Look carefully," he says softly. "See how each ripple begins, how it spreads, how it fades." You follow his gaze, noticing the way a single falling leaf touches the water and sends out delicate rings, expanding and merging with others until they disappear into the stillness again. Most people, the fishermen, continue spend their lives throwing stones into their minds. They stir and churn the surface, then wonder why they cannot see clearly. Zen masters might ask, what would happen if you stopped stirring the water? Could the sky reflect itself in your heart? The fisherman picks up a pebble and holds it loosely in his palm. "Peace is not found by forcing stillness," he says. "It is found when you stop disturbing it." He sets the pebble down gently on the riverbank, not tossing it into the water, but simply letting it rest. "Try this," he whispers. "Breathe in and imagine the river's surface smooth, undisturbed. As you breathe out, picture your thoughts settling like silt, sinking to the riverbed. You close your eyes. Inhale the cool night air fills you, carrying the scent of wet earth and wood smoke. Exhale your thoughts. Drift down like particles falling slowly through water until they rest in the quiet below. At first, the current of your mind resists sending tiny ripples across your awareness. But as you breathe again, those ripples grow softer, farther apart. And then, for a brief moment, the water within you feels perfectly still. The fisherman's voice breaks the silence, calm and low. The Buddha taught that a calm mind reflects the world as it is, not as we wish it to be, not as we fear it to be. You open your eyes, and gaze at the river. The lantern's reflection floats on its surface perfectly whole, now undistorted by waves. Watch the fisherman murmurs. See how the river doesn't cling to the ripples, it allows them to come. It allows them to go. And always beneath it all, it flows. A breeze stirs the trees overhead, their leaves rustling like soft whispers. For a long moment you sit in silence, letting the sound of water and wind fill you. And for the first time, you realize that peace isn't something you must create. It is what remains when you stop stirring. The steady flame, cultivating inner calm. Amid the breeze, the fisherman tends his lantern, teaching balance between protection and surrender. The fisherman leans closer to his lantern, his hands cupped gently around the flickering flame. The wind brushes past cool and steady, but the light doesn't go out. It wavers slightly, yet remains alive, its glow warm against the deepening night. Watch the flame, the fisherman says softly. It burns not because it fights the wind, but because it knows how to shelter itself. You watch as he adjusts the lantern's small sliding door, narrowing the opening, just enough to keep the breeze from snuffing out the light. Too open and the flame is blown away, he murmurs. Too closed and it suffocates from lack of air. Balance is everything. Zen masters might ask, where in your life are you fighting the wind too fiercely, and where have you closed yourself off entirely? The fisherman lifts the lantern and places it between you on the rock, its light stretching across both your faces. Most people guard their hearts like a closed lantern, he continues. They fear the wind, so they shut tight. But in shutting out the wind, they also shut out the air they need to burn brightly. He opens his hands in a small, graceful gesture. To live is to find the space where the flame breathes freely protected, yet not imprisoned. You take a deep breath, feeling the night air enter your chest, cool and fresh. Try this, the fisherman whispers. As you inhale, imagine the flame inside you growing steady, strong. As you exhale, picture your heart opening just enough to let the breeze pass without extinguishing your light. You close your eyes. Inhale the warmth in your chest, expand soft but unwavering. Exhale. You feel the tension in your shoulders melt, replaced by a quiet openness. The breeze stirs again, rustling the trees, but the lantern's flame holds. And within you, a similar steadiness begins to rise. Gentle, resilient, alive. The Buddha taught that peace does not come from resisting life, the fisherman says. It comes from knowing how to let it pass through you without destroying your light. You open your eyes. The river flows on in silence, reflecting the lantern's glow, like a small sun drifting across its surface. For a moment, you and the fisherman sit without speaking. The flame flickers, the water murmurs, the wind drifts by. And for the first time, you feel it. Peace is not stillness without movement. Peace is the quiet strength that lets the flame dance, yet never go out. Casting the net. Letting go of expectations and outcomes. You learn how to act without clinging to success or fearing failure. The fisherman rises slowly, his lantern in hand, and steps closer to the river's edge. The glow of the flame wavers on the water's surface, stretching and curling with each ripple. You follow him and watch as he sets the lantern down on a flat stone. From the shadows nearby, he retrieves a simple fishing net, its coarse fibers worn smooth by years of use. Watch carefully, he says softly, gathering the net in his hands. He stands still for a moment, letting the net hang loosely by his side. Then, with one smooth motion, he casts it wide. The net unfurls gracefully in the air before landing on the water with a quiet splash, sending out ripples that drift slowly outward. Most people, he murmurs, cast their nets with clenched fists, grasping, striving, fearing failure. But see what happens when you clutch too tightly. He tightens his grip on the rope and jerks the net sharply back toward him. The net bunches and twists, catching nothing as it drags across the water. The river gives nothing to a greedy hand, the fisherman says, shaking his head. Zen masters might ask, what would change if you released your expectations and let life give what it will? The fisherman casts the net again, this time with soft, fluid movements. He lets the rope slip gently through his fingers, the net drifting with the current, before settling quietly on the riverbed. This is the way he whispers. Act with care, but let go of the outcome. What the river offers is not for us to demand. He waits, his hands resting loosely on the rope. The lantern's light flickers gently, casting long shadows across the water. Try this, he says. As you breathe in, feel your intentions gather in your heart, like a net coiled in your hands. As you breathe out, imagine casting them wide, then letting them go, trusting the river to carry them. You close your eyes. Inhale, the air fills you steady and calm. Exhale. You feel your hands release your mind. Loosen your heart, open. When you open your eyes, the net lies still on the water, its surface smooth and unbroken. The fisherman waits without strain, without impatience. The Buddha taught that grasping brings suffering, he says softly. But to act without clinging, that is the beginning of peace. A soft breeze stirs the water, and the lantern's reflection trembles slightly. The fisherman pulls the rope gently, and the net rises, dripping and glistening in the lantern's glow. Inside, a few small fish flash silver before slipping back into the water as he opens the net. You see, he says, sometimes the river gives, sometimes it does not. Either way, it flows on. He folds the net carefully and sets it aside. And for the first time, you feel it in your own chest, not as a thought, but as a quiet understanding. To cast your net without clinging is to meet life as it comes. Empty-handed, open-hearted. The moon's reflection, seeing clearly. Without grasping, the river reflects the moon, showing how clarity emerges when the mind is still. The fisherman picks up the lantern again, its soft glow illuminating his hands as he steps carefully along the riverbank. You follow in silence, your own footsteps hushed by the damp earth beneath you. He stops at a place where the river widens and slows, forming a glassy pool. The water here is so still that it seems to hold its own quiet breath. Look, the fisherman says, pointing. You raise your eyes and see the moon reflected perfectly on the water's surface. Its pale light floats there untouched and whole, a luminous disk surrounded by stars. Beautiful, isn't it, he murmurs. But watch what happens. He stoops and picks up a small pebble. With a gentle flick of his wrist, he drops it into the pool. Ripples spread outward in concentric circles, breaking the moon's image into shards of light that dance and twist on the trembling surface. You see, he says, the moon is still in the sky. Nothing has happened to it. Only the water has changed. Zen masters might ask, when your mind is disturbed, do you mistake the ripples for reality? The fisherman lowers himself to sit cross-legged by the water's edge, and you settle beside him. Most people, he continues, spend their lives trying to hold on to reflections, chasing clarity, grasping at stillness. But reflections are not the thing itself. The moon is above us, whether the water is calm or not. You tilt your head back, gazing at the night sky. The real moon hangs there serene and untouchable, casting its light freely over the world. Try this, the fisherman whispers. As you breathe in, imagine the water within you becoming still. As you breathe out, let go of the ripples, your thoughts, your judgments, your need to control. Let the moon appear on its own. You close your eyes. Inhale, the cool air fills your lungs like a slow tide. Exhale your restless thoughts, soften, fading like waves, settling into stillness. For a moment there is only quiet. No grasping, no seeking. When you open your eyes, the ripples on the pool have faded. The moon's reflection has returned whole and undisturbed. The Buddha taught that clarity arises not from effort, the fisherman says gently, but from letting go. When the water rests, the truth reveals itself. The lantern flickers beside you, its flame swaying slightly in the breeze. And for the first time, you feel it not as a concept, but as a quiet truth settling into your bones. You don't need to hold the moon to see its light. You only need to let the water rest. The silent catch, receiving grace. Without struggle, the fisherman pulls in his net, gently demonstrating the art of effortlessness. The fisherman rises again, his movements slow and deliberate, as though in no rush at all. He takes up his folded net and steps quietly to the water's edge, where the river's current hums in a gentle, steady rhythm. "Sit here," he says softly, pointing to a smooth stone near the bank. "Watch carefully. The river will teach you." You settle on the stone as he wades ankle-deep into the water, the lantern's glow casting his reflection in long golden streaks that sway with the ripples. He unfurls the net in his hands, but does not cast it right away. Instead, he stands still, the river flowing around his legs, his eyes soft but alert. "Most people believe they must fight for every gift in life," he murmurs across the water. "But sometimes it is in stillness that we receive." Zen masters might ask, what if the universe is offering you what you need, but your struggle keeps you from seeing it? The fisherman closes his eyes and breathes deeply. For a long moment, he does nothing. The night is quiet, save for the water's gentle gurgle and the faint hiss of the lantern's flame. Then, with a graceful motion, he releases the net into the current. The net spreads silently like a great silver wing and drifts downward until it vanishes beneath the surface. He does not tug or pull. He simply waits, hands resting lightly on the rope, his body swaying ever so slightly with the river's rhythm. "Try this," his voice calls gently to you. As you breathe in, feel the river's flow entering you. As you breathe out, imagine releasing your grip on struggle. Let life move through you without resistance. You close your eyes. Inhale, the air fills your chest, cool and steady. Exhale, you feel tension slide from your shoulders, your hands loosening in your lap. Again, inhale, exhale. When you open your eyes, the fisherman is pulling the rope in slowly, carefully. The net emerges from the water, glistening in the lantern's glow. Inside, a few small fish shimmer like living jewels before slipping free as he lowers the net back into the river. "You see," he says, turning slightly to face you, "I did not force the river to give. I only opened my hands and let it offer what it would." He gathers the net, gently folding it with care. "The Buddha taught that effort is needed, but struggle is not," he says softly. "A hand that grasps tightly often comes away empty, but a hand that opens in trust receives freely." The fisherman sets the net aside and sits beside you on the stone. The lantern's warm glow pools around you, both the air thick with the scent of river water and faint wood smoke. Together, you watch the current slip past, carrying leaves and stars alike on its endless journey. And for the first time, you feel it deep in your chest. To receive without struggle is not passivity. It is the quiet strength of a heart that trusts the river's flow, the flowing current, trusting life's natural movements. A quiet moment reveals how peace arises from flowing with change. The fisherman remains seated beside you on the smooth stone, his gaze fixed on the river as it flows quietly under the moonlight. The lantern's flame flickers softly in the breeze, casting warm ripples of light across the water. "Do you see how the current moves?" he asks, his voice low and steady. You watch the river glide past its surface, carrying fallen leaves, twigs, and faint glimmers of starlight. Some parts of the water rush quickly around stones. Others swirl lazily in small eddies before continuing their journey downstream. It does not cling to what passes, the fisherman says. It does not resist what comes. It flows always endlessly without hesitation. Zen masters might ask, what would happen if you stopped fighting the current and allowed yourself to move with it? The fisherman leans forward slightly, his hands resting loosely on his knees. Most people, he murmurs, struggle against life's currents. They push upstream believing peace lies in controlling where they are carried. But in doing so, they tire themselves and lose sight of where they are. He picks up a small twig and places it gently on the water's surface. The current catches it instantly, pulling it forward in graceful spirals before carrying it out of sight. Watch, he whispers. The twig does not resist. It does not steer. Yet it travels farther than any swimmer. The air grows cooler as the night deepens. You inhale, and the scent of river moss fills your lungs, grounding you in the present moment. Try this, the fisherman says softly. As you breathe in, imagine the current entering your chest. As you breathe out, release your need to control. Let yourself drift gently, trusting that the river knows its way. You close your eyes. Inhale the current, feel steady and strong, flowing through you like a quiet pulse. Exhale. You feel the weight of effort slipping away, replaced by a sense of lightness, of surrender. Again, inhale, exhale. A soft wind stirs the bamboo on the far bank, their leaves whispering like old friends sharing secrets in the dark. The Buddha taught that peace is not found in stillness alone, the fisherman says. It is found in moving with life, not against it. You open your eyes and watch the river, its surface gleaming in the lantern's glow. For the river's strength is not in its force, he continues. It is in its willingness to go wherever it must, over rocks, around bends toward the sea. The fisherman turns to you, his eyes warm and clear in the dim light. You see, he says gently, to trust the current is not weakness. It is the deepest form of strength. The lantern flickers once more, its glow softening as the night settles fully around you. And for the first time, you feel it not just in thought, but in your bones. You do not need to fight the flow. You are already being carried home. The lantern extinguished, leaving the river with lightness. As the lantern is put out, you discover the quiet strength of walking away unburdened. The fisherman leans forward and cups his hand gently around the lantern's flame. It dances for a moment, then steadies under his touch. It is almost time, he says softly, to let the light go. You glance at the river. The current flows on, undisturbed, carrying leaves and faint reflections of stars downstream. The air feels heavier now, not with burden, but with stillness, like the entire night is holding its breath. Most people fear endings. The fisherman continues, his eyes calm and untroubled. They clutch at the light, afraid of the dark. But light cannot exist without darkness, just as the river cannot flow without its still pools. Zen masters might ask, if you stopped fearing the dark, what new light might arise within you? The fisherman's fingers hover over the lantern's tiny flame. Try this, he whispers. As I breathe out the light, breathe in deeply. Feel the warmth remain even after the flame is gone. You nod gently, your own breath slowing to match his. The fisherman takes one final steady inhale. Then, with a long exhale, he leans in and blows softly. The flame flickers, wavers, and vanishes. Darkness settles around you. At first, it feels unfamiliar, thick, quiet, infinite. But then, slowly, you notice the faint glow of the moon reflected on the river. The stars stitched across the sky, the soft rustle of leaves whispering secrets to the wind. The fisherman sits back, hands folded in his lap. You see, he says softly, the lantern is gone, yet the light remains. It lingers in memory, in warmth, in trust. You close your eyes. Inhale, the cool air fills you, carrying traces of moss water and the faint wood smoke that clung to the lantern. Exhale, your body feels weightless, as though the river has taken every worry and carried it far downstream. The fisherman's voice returns barely more than a murmur now. The Buddha taught that to cling is to suffer, but to release gently, that is peace. You open your eyes and see him rise to his feet. His lantern is dark, but his posture radiates a quiet strength like the river itself, soft flowing yet enduring. It is time, he says. The river calls you onward. As you stand, you notice how light you feel, how free your hands are when they hold nothing at all. And for the first time, you sense it deeply, like a truth settling into your bones. Peace is not something to carry. It is something you step into again and again as you let go. The fisherman smiles faintly. Walk softly, he says, and let the river's song follow you. You turn and begin the path back the darkness, no longer frightening, but full of gentle possibility. The river whispers beside you, and your heart whispers back. I am ready. The river flows on in the quiet night, its surface smooth and steady under the moonlight. You pause on the path for a moment, letting the cool air brush your skin like a soft caress. Inhale deeply. Feel the peace of the water, the stillness of the forest, the memory of the lantern's warmth. Exhale slowly. Release the day's burdens, letting them drift downstream like fallen leaves. There is nothing more to hold, nothing more to fix, nothing more to seek. As the Buddha once taught, peace is not found by adding more. It is found by letting go. Imagine now that you are standing in the river, the current flowing gently around you. You don't resist it. You don't cling to the shore. You simply allow yourself to float light and free. With each breath, you sink deeper into this stillness. Here you are whole. Here you are home. Let the river's song carry you softly into rest.